you can see an awful lot of the circuit. You get quite close to the circuit as well, and it's a real action circuit. It doesn't really matter where you go around the track to watch, you're bound to see something exciting happening in most races, really. So the crowd assembled. We're just there's a short delay before we get this race underway because we've had a qualifying session. One of the races coming up a bit later on today. This morning, a couple of cars didn't make it all the way to the end of that session without dramas, shall we say. So there's a bit of clear-up work already to be done, but the hard-working British Marshals will be very quickly on the case and get the circuit ready and rating to go. The campsite's pretty full as well this weekend, which is good to see. Lots of people making a weekend of it. I was speaking to a group of people here yesterday who were celebrating a stag do at Castle Combe. What better way than to celebrate something like that than coming to watch some racing in the sunshine in this glorious summer weather that we've been enjoying thus far in 2018. Long may that continue. A little bit changeable yesterday. We had a bit of cloud cover at times during some of the qualifying sessions, but very mild temperatures still. And that has continued into today. So there we see the number 46 car, Gary Goodwin, down in the assembly area, beg your pardon. And he will be lining this up for this race in third on the grid. And he's really looking to try and score some good points, really, as he's not been with us for the full season. So, in fact, I think this might even be Gary Goodwin's first... no, he has raced with us earlier on in the season, but arrives here 13th in the points, so he clearly hasn't been around for the entire championship. Get a look at one of the chicanes there. There are two chicanes at Castle Combe. The first one is is the S's, excuse me, and then Bobby's towards the end of the lap. I'm not sure which one that is, but you can see the tyre stacks that are on the inside of the corners. Not many circuits these days have those tyre stacks still on the apexes. A lot of circuits have gone with the really aggressive sausage curbs that the drivers don't really like, because if you do hit them in the wrong way, they can break the steering, break suspension, damage the tyres. Of course, a tyre stack does a lot of damage if you hit it as well, but that doesn't seem to stop the drivers getting as close as possible to those apexes and dislodging the tyres, which means that occasionally there is the need to have a bit of a pause in proceedings between races to reset some of the circuit furniture. There's the cornfield that someone will end up in today, I guarantee that. And that is on all around the inside of the circuit. There's also a solar farm that covers most of the inside of the circuit here at Castle Combe, so some varied scenery for us all to enjoy over the course of the day. Porsches, though, this is the best thing we can see. Porsches heading out onto the circuit, so we are almost ready for a race. They'll have a green flag lap before the race gets underway properly, and when it does get underway, it will be over 20 minutes. So yesterday they got 16 laps in over the course of the 20 minutes. Average lap times 1 minute 15, 1 minute 16 in race trim, so they get 16, maybe 17 laps in if the pace is a bit higher. And as they line up then at the front of the grid, we have Adam Southgate and Gary Lawrence, because they line up for this one the way in which they finished yesterday's race. We've got a couple of 924s with us this weekend, but not as many as we've been accustomed to. However, Gavin Johnson and Hugh Pert, the two 924 cars there at the tail end of the grid, are two of the quicker drivers in the class, so they should be able to produce some pretty close racing for us. We've got none of the production boxers here either this weekend, so just the two classes of car that will be out on circuit. And the medical car crawls in line at the back of the grid, green flag is waved, and the green flag lap, therefore, will shortly begin. And will be the last chance for the drivers to get to grips with the circuit, see what the circuit conditions are like, and see whether it's changed from yesterday, really, although the conditions are much the same as they were for yesterday's qualifying session and race. So wait for the cars to disappear. You can see there are a few cars, a few BMWs still being recovered to the pit lane. The green flag does fly, and the green flag lap gets underway. So Adam Southgate on the pole position, weaving the tyres, trying to get some heat into the tyres. You wouldn't think that that would be necessary in conditions like this, but the tyres, the racing tyres, of course, operate at such a high temperature that you still have to work them quite hard on the green flag lap and work the brakes as well. The last thing you want to do is arrive up at Quarry Corner on the opening lap, this part of the circuit right here, and not have any brakes. So they'll pump the brakes, they'll accelerate and then stand on the brakes in a straight line, and that heats up the brake discs. temperature then from the brake discs dissipates into the rubber of the tyre as well, so that's actually the more effective way of getting some heat into the tyres. They work their way around to the S's, and that really is just single fire through there, to be honest. And then they head through Hammer Down, which is, as the name will suggest, a pretty fast part of the circuit. This quick right-hand kink, and then down towards Tower Corner. And here is confirmation of the grid then. So Adam Southgate and Gary Lawrence make up the front row of the grid. Gary Goodwin, who we mentioned, is lining up third, with Andrew Baker alongside him on row number 2 of the grid. These are all the race boxers towards the front of the grid, of course. James Coleman and Nick Hull are on the third row, ahead of Matthew Harris and Kevin Molyneux, who on row number 4 round out the race boxer grid. Then we have our 2 924s, Gavin Johnson and Hugh Pert. It's a shame we don't have more 924s here this weekend, but as I said, those two are both very competitive drivers and should be able to put on a pretty close race for us. So they make their way now down through Bobbies, back towards the pit complex. Look out of the window, I can see them coming down towards me actually. I've got a cracking view here at Castle Combe of most of the circuit. But of course we can see everything that's going on our live stream here. And thank you all for tuning in at this relatively early hour. It's rare these days in the UK that we get racing underway before 9 o'clock, although having said that, it's just literally just ticked over 9 o'clock now. This race a little bit delayed due to the clean-up operation from the previous qualifying session, but it's an early start and a long day, lots of racing to cram in, more racing for you than we've provided at any other TCR UK race meeting thus far this season, so we'll keep you entertained all day long. Race boxers line up. There are Gavin Johnson and Hugh Pert towards the back in their much slower, much more production-based 924s. But we are about ready for a start. There is the grid, nice wide grid here, and they will fan out 3, maybe 4 abreast on the run-up Avon Rise towards Quarry for the first time. Let's see what happens in our opening race of the day. This is race number 9 of the weekend. It's the second race of the weekend for the Toyo Tyres Porsche Championship. Red starts live, lights go out, away we go, and Adam Southgate makes a decent start from pole position by the looks of it. They rush towards the right-hander and then up the hill towards Avon Rise, and Southgate will get the race lead. Gary Lawrence slots into second place, but the third has come Andrew Baker, I think that is, isn't it? It's ahead of the Gary Goodwin car that started third. Let's try and pick them out as they hit the brakes in towards Quarry. Definitely Southgate leading away though. Gary Lawrence in second position, and Southgate already with a car length or so over the rest of those. James Coleman, I beg your pardon. James Coleman has come through into third position in the 00 car. He's made a really good start from 5th on the grid. He clearly found a gap up the inside and made his way into third. Nick Hull is 4th. Looks like Goodwin is down to 5th. And then the rest of them following through behind. So not a great start there from either of our second row men, Gary Goodwin and Andrew Baker. Here was Coleman, they're looking at the inside of Gary Lawrence down towards Tower. Gary had to jink across to the inside line to defend that one pretty aggressively. But defend it he did. This is all really allowing Southgate to pull away there at the front of the field. So Southgate turns through Bobbies for the first time, coming down towards the completion of the opening lap. And a few of the drivers just taking it quite tentatively, I feel, on these opening few corners, as they just try and get as much temperature into those tyres. Back down towards Camp Corner they come the final turn, alongside the campsite, appropriately enough, and then back across the start-finish line, and Adam Southgate is going to lead very handsomely at the end of the opening lap. He crosses the line, an absolute country mile ahead of this battle for second place, which is still being headed by Gary Lawrence, but it looks to me as though James Coleman was maybe a little bit quicker at this stage. Looks to the left-hand side through Avon Rise, then hard on the brakes in towards Quarry. So easy to outbrake yourself there and find your way into the recticel barriers on the outside of the track. A bit wide there for Lawrence. That again gives Coleman the incentive to draw alongside on the run down towards the S's. Looks to the inside, but no, door is shut firmly in his face as they turn into that right, left, right flick out at the far side of the circuit. Down towards Tower they go again, and this is all really starting to stack up for second place, isn't it? Again, you can see Coleman having a little peek to the inside, but just not quite able to prise the door open. Nick Hull is the blue car with the Union flag on the bonnet, running in 4th position. And as they turn back down through Bobbies, you sense that it's a matter of when, not if, the door is open here. But the longer they spend stuck behind Gary Lawrence, the further away Adam Southgate is getting. There is Kevin Molyneux. He's now got himself ahead of Gary Goodwin. So Molyneux is now 5th in the yellow car. Remember, that's the car that we believe is missing the second gear. So his start wasn't great, but now he's up to speed. Hopefully he'll be able to do all right, although I'd imagine they will be using second a couple of times around this circuit. Maybe a high-speed track, but there's still a couple of parts of the circuit where you have to hit the brakes, such as here into Quarry Corner. Just about going to make the third gear through there. Down towards the S's, still the same order in that fight for second place by the looks of it. I can tell you in the 924 class, Gavin Johnson is still leading from Hugh Pert by just over a second, but they're still reasonably close together. To the third lap of the race, fastest lap so far set by Southgate, 1:15.899, about half a second slower than Gary Lawrence went yesterday when he set the fastest lap. So Gary Lawrence, the man who is in second place at the moment, was the pace setter in yesterday's race. Finished second, some 5.8 seconds off the lead, but he did set the fastest lap of the race, so maybe he's got that car set up to come on strong a bit later on. For the time being, though, he's definitely struggling to keep James Coleman and Nick Hull at bay. Down through the dip at Bobby's, back through the right-hand Kingdom Westway, and then along the back straight towards the final turn. Look at though, Gary Lawrence is just getting waistline now from Coleman and Hull, so maybe that is what it was. He just started the tyre pressures a bit lower maybe than some of the others did. That has meant that he struggled with pace in the early laps, but now as we are onto the fourth lap of the race, he's started to come into his own. Coleman in turn getting away from Nick Hull. Molyneux still fifth, Goodwin still sixth. Seventh place last time through was Andrew Baker, ahead of 99 Matthew Harris, and then the 294s a bit further back. So through the right, left, right again they go at the S's, and there's the gap, 2.9 seconds for Southgate over Lawrence. Coleman, Hull next in line. James Coleman building up to another attack here, I think maybe. He's a bit closer as they go through Hammerdown. There are Molyneux and Goodwin, they're getting a bit closer together as well. That gap creeping down ever so slightly. Yes, Gary Lawrence just had to jink over to the middle of the road there as they went in towards Tarry. Runs a bit wide, picks up the late apex. He looks a bit scrappier than Coleman though, doesn't he? He looks like he's having to try a bit harder to get the maximum performance from that car. Curves, not too wide over the curves, because then you'll get pinged for exceeding the track limits if you run right out over the exit curbs, or indeed the apex curbs at any of the corners. Very tempting to do so, but those tyre stacks you'd think would put the drivers off from being too aggressive with corner cutting. Southgate goes through, gap now 3.9 seconds. He's done another fastest lap now, and that is now the fastest lap of the weekend as far as race laps are concerned. 15.452 is about 400ths of a second quicker than Gary Lawrence went yesterday. So new fastest lap confirmed for Adam Southgate, and Gary Lawrence 3.9 seconds back now. There is Lawrence, still ahead of Coleman and Hull. Then there's a further 4.6 seconds back to the Molyneux and Goodwin scrap, which did get even closer last time through though. In fact, they are almost the two closest cars on the track. The next two in line, they continue in the background, and they've got to come back out of here now. So Molyneux has started to stretch his legs once more. Yeah. Well, the cars then lining up on the grid. Apologies, I believe we lost commentary for a second there, but the pictures showing us exactly what's going on. And the recovery underway down at Camp Corner. And the red flags flying, understandably. This race has to be put on pause for the recovery process to get underway. So there we see the boards and the marshal post, of course, telling the drivers what's going on, but we also have the LED screens here at Castle Combe above the start-finish gantry, which tells everybody about the situation out there. Red flags flying. But we now wait for news on when the race will get to restart, and of course any news we get we will pass on to you as soon as we can. So the grid lining up at the moment. Well, the time has now on the timing screen gone down to 0, so but that could just be because if we do get the race rerun, it will be over a shortened distance, not entirely sure. But now they're moving the cars off the grid, so I presume the race is not going to be resumed, so understandable there. End of session confirmed, so Adam Southgate will get a race victory, but not the way in which he wanted to take his race victory, to extend his championship lead over the rest of the field. There we see confirmation the race will not restart. There just isn't time today at Castle Combe. There are so many races to get through. We're bringing most of those live for you, but there are other races as well, other qualifying sessions going on. There's just the time to build into the timetable a hefty delay, and so that will be the end of the race, unfortunately. So the cars head back into the paddock, and we will see them again later on. Though they have a third race coming up later on today, and that one is due to start at about 20 to 2, just after our first TCR UK race. But that is all subject to change, of course, because there is always the possibility for delays, red flags, and hold-ups. So it's not always set in stone the times that the races will start, but around about 20 to 2 is when the third and final Porsche race of the weekend is due to start. So we are having a pause in proceedings then here at Castle Combe. Not the way we wanted to start the day, unfortunately, but the Toyota's Porsche Championship race ending just before halfway as a result of a fairly sizable shunt for Nick Hull down at Camp Corner. The car overturned in the tyre wall, but the marshals are on the scene and dealing with the incident. The cars making their way back down into the paddock. The 94 class, incidentally, was won by Gavin Johnson from Hugh Pert. So Gavin Johnson actually got himself ahead of one of the Boxsters, Matthew Harris, towards the end of that race. And so Gavin Johnson showing the pace that he's got in that 94 class car. There is confirmation of the result then. Adam Southgate with the race victory by 4.8 seconds in the end, but you do sense that had the race gone to its full duration, he probably could have got further ahead than that, even because he was taking a second a lap out of Gary Lawrence in second place. James Coleman was third, Kevin Molyneux fourth, and Gary Goodwin was in fifth. Andrew Baker sixth, Gavin Johnson in seventh was the lead 924 car, Matthew Harris in eighth, and Hugh Pert dropping down into ninth place, second of the 924s. Adam Southgate will therefore extend his championship lead, and Hugh Pert, well, actually, Hugh Pert and Gavin Johnson were fairly close together in the 924 class. They are the top two in the 924 class. Of course, Gavin beat Hugh yesterday, and he's beaten him again today, so that's probably brought that championship gap right down. We'll try and get some confirmation of that before race 3 a little bit later on, but that is the end of the Porsches for the time being. I'm going to move into some highlights, though, for the race now, and show you exactly what happened in what was a dramatic opening race of the day for the Toyo Tyres Porsche Championship. Great start for Adam Southgate. He was able to convert pole position into a lead that he would not give up. James Coleman was the real mover, though, at the start, from 5th up into 3rd, and was immediately challenging Gary Lawrence for 2nd place. The two of them did battle over the entire duration of the shortened race. Never much of a distance between the two of them. Their battling, though, was allowing Southgate to pull away, who was setting fastest lap after fastest lap, before a very nasty looking shove for Nick Hull backwards into the tyre wall at Camp Corner, the car inverting itself, but the marshals on the scene and are doing their very best to get the incident cleared up. However, it did require a red flag and the race to be stopped early, but Nick Hull, and there is good news, Nick Hull out of the car. We weren't sure whether that had happened, but Nick Hull did get out of the car and was being attended to by the medical crews and the marshals, and that is the best news we could have seen there. So the car's headed back into the paddock. Adam Southgate headed there, a race winner, and he took the victory in our opening race of the weekend. So Porsche's done with for the time being. This first stream of the day that we are bringing you live on the BRSCC YouTube channel. We've also got racing from the Avon Tyres National Formula 4 Championship, the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Cup, and the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup as well. So it's all support racing this morning. And then TCR UK plus lots of support race action coming up later on this afternoon in stream number 2, so it's split over 2 streams this weekend, a morning stream and a long afternoon stream, so lots of racing to bring you as the day goes on. So that's Quarry Corner, I believe, where I went to watch a couple of support races yesterday. It's always an exciting part of the circuit to watch from, and that's why you can see more and more people turning up now as well as the day wears on. By the time we get to lunchtime and our TCR races later on this afternoon, we're going to have a packed house, I think, at Castle Combe, as everyone enjoys the summer sunshine and the spectacular views of one of the most spectacular racetracks in the country. So we believe that Bryn is on the case down in the paddock looking for some interviews with our podium finishers, which is why we're hanging on for a moment to try and catch up with them. Adam Southgate will be very happy, I'm sure, not only to have won the race, but to know that Nick Hull got out of his car okay after that very nasty shunt down at Camp Corner. But Adam would not have wanted to win the race in that fashion. But he can take some solace from the fact that everyone appears to be okay. And he does extend that championship lead that's looking almost unreachable now, really, as we move well into the second half of the season now. Well, I believe we can now head down into the paddock where Bryn Lucas, hopefully, has got some podium finishes.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks very much there, Andy. I am here with Adam Southgate for what was, I have to say, a pretty short-lived race for you, and not one that ending in the way we'd like.
No, not really, no. It's never great to see a car off like that. Hopefully Nick's all right. But yeah, it's quite a nice race for me. To be honest, when the safety car boards came out, I was cursing because I built a nice big lead. But then, yeah, as soon as I came around and saw Nick on his roof, then I thought it'd be race over. Yeah,
and you say you built a lead. You built one heck of a gap there. Just got the hammer down from the off?
Yeah, really, the car's behaving really well today. I think it's the morning, so it's like cooler temperature on the track, which means the tyres are working well for me. So yeah, the car's feeling great. So I think the win was in the bag. Pity it didn't go to the full 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, as you say, not the way you'd like it to end with Nick. The news is he is out of the car, and hopefully he's going to be back up and running very, very quickly. But looking at these cars, looking at the championships, it's one, although not a huge turnout of cars this weekend, it's an ultra competitive championship, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, every single car is really similar to one another. We want to get some more cars on the grid. It's not as expensive as it looks, believe it or not. I know we're racing Porsches than a Boxsters, but it's about the same as running an MX-5. So it's a fantastic championship. Let's get some more guys out there because it's a great grid.
Absolutely, and of course you're leading the championship now and pulling away every single race at the moment.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm having a bit of a lucky season. Every time there's a bit of luck, it's fallen my way. But I've had 4 years in the championship. It was about time it happened.
Absolutely. Well, you carry on doing what you're doing. Well done. Thank you very much there to Adam. Very, very happy with his result, his win, of course. Let's move into our second place driver here. Sweaty, even though the race wasn't massively long, it is absolutely baking, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was roasting out there, and that was really hard work. We made, I called it when we spoke in the paddock, we made a change. I was either going to be faster or slower, and it was definitely slower. So, other than the fact, obviously, hopefully Nick's all right. It was a bit of relief when the red flag came out because I was really having to fight the car. But we know what it was, so we'll change it back for the next one. So, yeah, we'll see how we go.
Yeah, as you said before the race there, you made some changes to the car. You weren't sure if it was going to improve or not improve, and you got the answer quite quickly. Adam was just steaming off away, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was a gamble, but it didn't pay off. So, but we've managed to hold James off, so we got a second. So to be fair, it was damage limitation really, but yeah, hopefully the next one will it'll be more exciting, obviously, because it's reverse grid. So yeah, should be good.
Fantastic. Well, go and get yourself ready, have some fluid, drink some stuff. Let's get we got our third place driver in now. Now you had a bit of a jump for yourself actually, James, because you were starting back in fifth, but you made it up to third.
Yeah, no, good start. Straight up into third before the first corner. So as planned, Gary made himself nice and wide, so it's tricky to get past. But I think his car went off quite quick. He made some changes, and his car was nowhere as good as yesterday because it was all over the place. Just trying to be patient and pick my time, but then the red flag came out and we were out of race.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think you could have hunted down and gone beyond and maybe even decided to chase Adam there?
Yeah, I wanted him out of the way because Adam was creeping away, not too quickly, so it would have been a good race, I think, between me and Adam, but yeah, unfortunately Gary was quite wide today, so couldn't get past.
Joe, I'm going to refer to the conditions a fair bit, of course, over the weekend, particularly today, because it is absolutely baking. It's baking just standing here wearing what I'm wearing. You guys with your fireproof suits and things, it's all about getting the fluid in there, and that really pays the price if you don't do it, because concentration starts to dip quite quickly.
100%. I've got this bottle of water in my hand all the time. It's really hot out there. Luckily, it's an early race today, so it's a bit cooler, but this afternoon is going to be blistering. So,
but track temperature very, very hot, so the tyres coming to you very, very quickly. But then the cooler air good for the engines. You get more performance out of those engines later on when the track temperature is very hot, but the air temperature is hot. It's going to have a bit of dip in performance.
Yeah, definitely. The tyres were really good actually this morning compared to yesterday. They were really good. We did make a couple of changes to suit the weather being cooler this morning, so put it back to the hot temperatures for this afternoon and see how we do.
Oh, well done. We look forward to the second race of the day.
Thank
well
you.
done. There you go. So the top three, they'll be heading off, I believe, to the podium. I'm not sure if they're going to be lining up a podium at this stage, but 3 interviews with the top 3 drivers there. Well done to Adam, well done to Jerry, and of course well done to our third place, to James Coleman too. And reverse grid for race 2 today should be quite exciting. Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't beat a good reverse grid race, can you? So, yeah, looking forward to that one. As you might expect, there is a short delay now in proceedings. Although Nick Hull was out of the car okay, there is still a recovery process ongoing to get the car and the tyre wall rebuilt and to make sure that Nick is absolutely okay and they can get him transported off to the medical centre for checkups and whatnot. So, our next race that was due to get underway at 9:30. It looks like we may have a short delay, but we're going to leave you in peace for a moment or two. The Avon Tyres National Formula Ford 1600 Championship will be coming up as soon as possible live on the BRSCC YouTube and Facebook pages. We'll bring you all of the action from that series, the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup and the Nankan Tyres BMW Compact Cup in a little while. But for now, we will let the recovery process continue, and we'll be back with some racing action as soon as we can.
Yeah, good. Well, as we get ready for the next race here at Castle Combe, the track is being cleared from the Porsche Championship we just saw a few moments ago. Well, I'm here in front of a lot of Formula 4s. We have the Avon Tyres National Formula 4 Championship, and I'm here with Matt as well. Matt, I've mentioned over the live stream today a fair bit just how warm it is. I noticed you've got your trusty brolly there to keep the cockpit of your car nice and cool. But tell us a little bit about the Formula 4s. What's it like to drive these single seats?
They're absolutely brilliant to drive, to be honest. I think, especially for a driver like me, coming out of karting, being there for a good few years, not quite wanting to make the jumps into slicks and wings yet. It's a cheaper option, so it's cheaper to learn if you're making mistakes and crashing. And on top of that, if you look, there's barely any grip. The tyres are absolutely tiny. They're probably as small as my karting tyres were. Now, what that means is that it's ultra technical. So actually coming up to corners, to be as fast as you can, you're kind of having to just be right on the ragged edge, which isn't really like anything else you'll ever drive, because all through karting it's all about being ultra smooth and on rails, but in this you take it a step further than that.
Yeah, and of course no aero on the front. There's no front wing on these cars. There's no rear wing on the car either. So the aerodynamics on these very minimal, should we say the least. And it means that they are quite flighty in the corners.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've not really got any reference point because obviously I've not driven aerodynamics yet. But you know, as far as anyone can tell, it just makes the racing so close. If you look at some F2 stuff, F1. They struggle to follow each other so close because obviously the dirty air affects them so much. But in this, you're just going to see great racing all the way through because of that.
Yeah, I mean, you get right under the tail of the car and head, don't you? So tell us a bit about your season so far and what happened in the race that you had yesterday.
I've had quite a positive season so far, I'd say. I'm taking part in the Northern Irish Championship as well as this British Championship, and I'm leading the Northern Irish. I think I'm currently third in the British. So yeah, not too bad at all. For my second full season of cars, I'm pretty over the moon with that. You know, I'm up against the likes of Niall and drivers like that who are vastly more experienced than me. So
yeah, well, Niall's been on the scene for a great many years. And actually, talking about Northern Ireland, there are so many really good Northern Irish drivers that we go up and down the grid all the time. We speak to Northern Irish driver after Northern Irish driver. So it's unusual to have somebody who's from other shores.
Yeah, well, you know, I think we probably surprised a couple of people at the start of the season when we decided to do it. But for me, when we went to Northern Ireland last season and I saw the Northern Irish race there, obviously Niall was racing that as well, and you like James Rowe, people like that. I just thought, you know, the racing is great. It's so aggressive, so hard that I really wanted to take part in it. And to be honest, I've learned so much doing it because it's one thing to race wheel to wheel on a go-kart, but it really is another thing to be interlocking wheels and stuff in a Formula Ford, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a pretty exciting track out there as well. We wish you the very best of the race.
Okay, thank you very much.
There you go, Matt Round-Garrido there. Now, Niall Murray is here. We're just talking about Northern Irish drivers and Irish drivers in general. And looking here around the grid, we've spoken to you so many times over the years as well. We see you at the sharp end when it comes to this form of racing, and it's something that you seem to thrive at, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I love Formula Ford. Obviously, I tried to move on. I did a race in the USF and did a couple of races in British GT. Also had success there, but in terms of value for money, you can't beat Formula Ford. In terms of competitiveness and racing, and you know, I did two races in British GT, as I said, and had a couple of overtakes, a couple of good overtakes. The hype about it all is good, and you know, the paddock is nice and clean and everything. But you know, Formula Ford, you don't get racing like it anywhere else. So
yeah, absolutely. And what is it like for you on a circuit like Castle Combe that is quite fast flowing? Is it regarded by yourselves and by the other drivers as a technical circuit, or is it one that you get the hammer down and you can just keep on going?
No, it's kind of a balls out corner or track. You just keep going as fast as you can, and it's all about keeping minimum speed up everywhere, which means it's just all about confidence, and you know, the more laps you can do around here, the better, and you just keep going faster and faster and faster. An extra half a mile an hour through every corner, you know, it's a couple of tenths. So yeah, it's just I'm definitely going to be quicker as the weekend progresses, so I'm going to be chasing that lap record of 9.8.
What is the key to getting the very best out of one of these cars? You're one of those drivers that does frequently, more often than not, get the best out of the car. So what is the key?
The most important thing is to have everything right. You have to have the car right, you have to have the right engine, you have to have obviously the right driver. So the probably most important thing is the car, making sure the car is set up right. You can't just jump into a car and if you're quick, you're going to be quick. It's not like that in Formula 4. It's such a technical car. You can literally do anything. You can chop it in half and make a new car if you want. So Bernard Dolan is my key to the key to my success over the last few years, and he's just the best engineer in the paddock, and he's a brilliant driver coach as well. and he's definitely the key to making that car work as best as the best car here.
How strong is that relationship, that bond that you have? Because you have to have ultimate trust, don't you, with your engineer and with your mentors, anybody who's talking you through a circuit and getting you the confidence in the car.
Yeah, well, me and Bernard, obviously I've raced with him since 2014, and we know each other quite well in terms of, I could say, I could almost only say half of what the car is doing out there, and he'll know straight away what to do with the car to make it be like what I want it to be. And the same way that if I think we should go one way with the car and he says go another way, I trust him to go the other way, and he'll do it, kind of a radical change, and it'll work. And yeah, he's definitely the best in the paddock, and you can see how much Matt and Jack have progressed as well this year, moving to Bernard. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you're starting on pole position, a familiar place to start. Are we going to see you race off into the distance, or do you think you're going to be pegged back a fair bit? I know that you're one of these drivers that even if you think you might disappear off into the distance, you won't say it.
Yeah, no, it's the track with it's a lot of long straights, so toe is very important, and Jamie was keeping in my toe, up for probably 70% of the race yesterday. No matter how good you get out of the last corner, they're right on you into the first corner. So. Yeah, it's very, very tough around here to pull away. In saying that, it's actually very tough to overtake as well. So it's quite easy to defend. As long as you just stay to the right coming up to the first corner, it's almost impossible to pass. So I'll still be fairly confident to keep the guys behind me unless unless I have a problem or miss a gear or something.
Keep your tyres on the grey stuff. Thank you very much there to Niall Murray. Brilliant. Well, we'll keep an eye on Niall because Niall is going to be one of the front runners, certainly one of the main contenders. Let's head over here now. We've got to find Joey. Here he is. Joey, sorry, Joey, how you doing? I'm just looking around for you and you're there standing by your car. I should have known. Yeah, look, talking to a few of the drivers about this track and about the weather conditions and about Formula Ford itself. So tell us what your particular love affair is with Formula Fords.
Oh, it's been going on for years, obviously. But for me, it's all about being able to work with engineers as well as just being able to have close competitive racing. The cars, they're not all the same. You've got different chassis, you can change the dampers, you can change the springs, you can change so much more, and that really helps sort of develop drivers on, as well as sort of being able to work with the engineer to try and get a competitive advantage. So that's what I really love about it.
And what I particularly love is there is very, very little aero on these cars, and if you have a good close look at them, and they're very, very pointy, there's nothing at the front end, there's nothing at the rear end, they are skitty, they like to leap around all over the place underneath you.
Yeah, I think mine more so than others actually at the moment, but yeah, that's part of it as well. You can run so close, the aero doesn't take away anything if you get close to the car in front, so the racing is always brilliant. The slipstream obviously adds up to a lot around here. You find yourself often going to quarry 3 abreast, so always good to watch.
Which is terrifying, really, when you're in such a small, confined area as this. Now, let's talk about Castle Combe itself, because it's a fast-flowing circuit. It's not a huge amount of runoff, so you've got to make sure you keep your tyres on the grey stuff at all times.
Yes, exactly. I think, the last time I raced here was 17 years ago when I was still learning. I think every time the car came back on a trailer, I never once drove it back to the pits. I was always stuck in the barriers somewhere. So coming here this time, I was hoping I'd learned a bit in the last 17 years, and a little bit daunting, but once you get into it, it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So you love Formula Ford. Looking at the competitors, obviously we've spoken to Niall Murray. He's more often than not at the sharp end, but who do you find you more often have tussles with when it comes to each race?
It seems to be we get involved with the spectrums a bit with Michael and Hugo as well. Pretty much everybody, to be honest. At some stage you come across them over the race weekend, especially with the reverse grids. That really mixes things up.
Yeah, it does. It puts the cat amongst the pigeons, so to speak. So what are we hoping for the race ahead?
We just got to try and keep the guys in front. It seems as though they've got a couple more tenths on us, so I'm hoping the slipstream can keep us with them, and there might be some opportunities to gain a few places.
With a circuit like this, you can never write off a safety car coming out, and that will bunch you all back up again. So if anybody does disappear off into the distance, there's always a good chance that they could be pulled back.
True. Yeah, we'll be hoping for that one, maybe.
Yeah, well, good luck. Thank you very much there. Well done to Joey. Let's move on then, shall we? Let's speak to car number 150. Let's speak to Carter Williams then, because as we head down, there are quite a lot of cars in the paddock. You can see 21 cars here all lined up. But Carter, let's have a quick word with you then. You've got this beautiful racing green Formula Ford. We like this. We like this a lot.
Oh yeah, thank you. I like all of it too. I mean, if you come over to the UK, you got to definitely run British green.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, tell us a little about yourself, because I detect an accent with you that it's not the same as we've heard so far on the grid, which is predominantly English and a bit of Northern Irish as well.
Yeah, I'm from the States. I'm from California, Central California, and yeah, I've been racing in the States for 13 years and decided to try my hand over in the UK.
And what made you choose Formula Fords?
It's the best form of racing, I believe. It's Formula Ford, and especially in the UK, is probably one of the toughest junior categories in the world. And if you can prove yourself here, then you can do well anywhere.
So are you using the Formula 4 Championship to get to maybe springboard up into slightly bigger formula?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, hopefully try to get into the Road and Indy shootout. Maybe Team USA. It's looking a little. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, definitely looking for that and trying to get any way I can to maybe get to Mazda Road Indy.
And what's the difference? Have you driven in aero cars? Because this one here doesn't have the aero package on the front or the rear wing there, so it's very, very different performance when it comes to this compared to an aero car.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more mechanical grip rather than aero. And the last 2 years I have driven an aero car. But yeah, it's a lot of good fun, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, and it also means very, very close to racing. You don't have that dirty air, that turbulent air that we often see.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's super close. You get 10 cars, 15 cars sometimes at Brand Silverstone right together.
So what's it like being in the cockpit of one of these cars when you're so close? Because we see 3 abreast sometimes and run some of these circuits, and I believe we see 3 abreast here at Castle Combe as well.
Yeah, it's definitely gets the heart pumping a little bit. You know, you're out there and 3 wide, tires sticking out. It's definitely a little hairy a few times, but we all make it through sometimes.
Yeah. 4th row of the grid for you, 7th there as a start. Where do you think you can aim looking ahead of you? There's some very, very good drivers ahead of you.
Yeah, definitely. There's very good drivers ahead, and you know,
and
you
behind,
and behind as well.
Yeah.
So put myself in a good position for this race. Top 5 would be nice, but yeah, just fight out there every lap, and my teammate Joey's one of the best there is, so yeah, I think we're in a good spot.
How well do you two work together? Because it's one of these forms of racing where everyone around the paddock is actually, they're quite friendly towards each other. There's none of this cutthroat, I'm not telling you what I'm doing business.
Yeah, I mean, that's the general vibe I guess I'm getting in the Formula Ford paddock, because everybody's kind of in the same boat, you know, just really trying to work and get better. And yeah, Joey and I gel pretty well together, and yeah, I love having him as a teammate.
Well, we'll keep an eye on how you're doing, but good luck for the race, and stay hydrated as well, because this temperature, you're used to this sort of temperature. Actually, let's have a quick word with the temperature. This is something that you're not unfamiliar with, getting the fluids in and racing in temperatures that are like this. Inside the cockpit, it's going to be pretty warm. You'll be dripping a bit by the end.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's probably about 26, 30 degrees, between 26, 30 degrees, and usually in the States right now it's about 40, so it's not too bad. It suits me a bit better. So
athletes that do running, they do altitude training. You just do hot weather training.
Yeah, all the time.
Good luck for the race. There you go. Thanks very much to Carter. So as we hear, most drivers can be struggling with the temperatures and the fact they're going to be very, very warm, but not Carter. This is easy for me because I'm used to racing, in 40-degree temperatures. Let's move a little bit further on down the show. Let's get another interview. Well, let's keep going. We might as well just keep walking down the line. Let's speak to Luke. Now, Luke, you're already in position. You've got the racing driver's stance, the hand behind the back there. You're looking pretty good in position here on row 4.
Well, not as good as I was at the start of the race yesterday. The main goal for today is to try and make as much progress. We got fastest lap yesterday, so hopefully we can keep that pace up and make good progress.
Is this frustrating for you, having to start this far back, or do you see this as quite an exciting challenge looking at who's ahead?
It's probably more frustrating, really. It will be an exciting challenge, but I want to be trying to win the race, and starting this far back makes it a lot more difficult.
Absolutely. So what can you hope for, bearing in mind who's ahead of you directly and who's right at the very sharp end?
Yeah, well, yesterday the top 3 were able to break away from the rest of them after my spin, so I think those 3 have got a bit more pace than the rest of them. So hopefully I can get through the first guys as quick as possible and maybe be close enough to stay with the front 3. But if not, it's just going to be a case of getting as far forward as I can.
Absolutely. Right, now before we disappear off, I just wouldn't mind you giving a very quick run around the car, if you don't mind. Give us a few pointers of things that we see on a Formula Ford car that we might not be used to seeing. I mean, just looking at the very front end here, there are quite a lot of structural parts on the front, but that's actually quite loose. It'll come, it breaks. It's designed to break apart, isn't it, on an impact? Yeah,
it's all designed to take the impact so that the force goes through the wishbones, and they're designed to break in an instant. So when the driver in the car actually gets into the barrier, all of the force is mostly taken away before you hit the barrier.
Right, okay, and if we have a look a little bit further back, let's have a look right inside the cockpit here as well, because you have one of these designer seats here, one of these very nice, beautiful designer seats made mostly, by the look of it, of gaffer tape.
Well, they're put into plastic bags and done around there, and then you just put tank tape over the top of it to kind of find the edges and everything. But it's all designed around my body to be as comfortable as possible. Yeah. And I've got a bit of foam in there for extra comfort.
Well, actually, it's very, very important that the seat that you are in wraps around your body, because you don't want to have any sideways, any lateral movement as you're inside the car.
No, you want to try and be as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other particular parts of the car that we could have a look at? I suppose at the front, the rear here as well. When you look at the drive on the rear, so rear-wheel drive on these cars, it's very, very, I'm not going to say basic, but it is quite easy to work out mechanically what's going on?
Yeah, it's all quite old technology because the Formula Ford started way back in the 60s, and there's been developments through the years, and they've all been modernised a little bit, but the basic technology is still pretty much the same.
Yeah, fantastic. Luke, well, we'll keep an eye on you in the race. Good luck, and hopefully we'll see you on the podium a little bit later on. Thanks very much there to Luke. Let's have a little wander around. We are getting very, very near the start of this race. I know it's been held for a fair bit because of the complications from the first race of the day here at Castle Combe, but we're carrying on walking around, and we're going to move now to the next row in the grid. And Felix Fisher is here. So Felix, looking at the car here, you've gone for the all-white number here, and what a beautiful car it is too.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's fairly new to me, so just learning what it's all about, really.
Tell us a little bit about your racing history, your racing career up to this point now.
Well, yeah, I've been all over, really. Did a bit in a Van Diemen, and then I've just gone for the Ray recently, so a bit of a change. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
What was the reason for that change?
I don't really know, to be honest with you.
Fair enough, fair enough. And so racing itself, what drives you to get into a Formula Ford? What is the main push?
Well, it's the best series around, isn't it? The racing's closer than anything else. The competition, the level of competition, unbelievable. The guys, especially at the sharp end, are something else, really. So, just a pleasure to be a part of it.
Are you able to keep an eye on what they're doing, or watch back and then take hints from them, or do they come and help you out at any stage?
Yeah, well, you're always learning, but generally we all get along, so you can always go and ask someone a question if you need it. And yeah, it's just good atmosphere at the moment, so enjoying it.
It's a very rewarding series when it comes to the driver, because you know, with most people in fairly equal kit, if not the same kind of kit, that when it comes to the races, it comes down to you behind the wheel. And in conditions like this, it comes down to how well you can maintain your concentration. Yeah,
well, that's exactly it. It all comes down to who makes a mistake, especially when it's this close. You know, Luke, who probably should be right at the sharp end, had a little spin yesterday, and he's dropped nearly 10 places. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's very, very tight. We wish you for the very best for the race, and hopefully we'll see you on the podium later.
Thank you, that'd be nice.
Wouldn't that be nice? There you go. Thanks very much to Felix. So we're about to wrap up here for a little bit as the drivers get ready to get in the cars. We've been told it may be just a few minutes away now before they start getting prepared. But having a quick look down here, when you look at all the Formula Fords, you can see there are a couple of different chassis types, as they were saying. And when you see them out on track, it's harder to actually see just how different they are. But performance-wise, very, very close. And it does come down to driver performance. And I know that when it comes to the commentary, Andy will be talking you through that as well. But normally, the best drivers get rewarded with the best results, as you'd expect. When it comes to a race like this here at Castle Combe, anything can happen. We know that the short run-offs and the fast speeds around the corners can lead to sometimes a little bit of mayhem and a few safety cars. So you might find one or two drivers disappearing off into the distance, and then the safety car comes out and bunches them all back up again, and we have another race on our hands. And of course, the reverse grid later on does tend to change things a fair bit. Drivers going to some extreme lengths to stay nice and cool, as we see over here at the moment. Actually, if we turn around and have a look at our car number 77, what a beautiful car that is too. This is Nico. Now, he has got his fireproof balaclava going on now, so he's getting fully suited up. It's very, very hot inside these suits. And as we head a little bit further over there, I'll let them actually get in, I'll let them get all prepared, because they need to get their concentration ready now. But as you look at some of these cockpits, we've got umbrellas going in quite a few of them, just to keep these cockpits as cool as possible. And that is something, it's not a fruitless task, I suppose, but it's not something that's going to be very, very hard for these drivers to be able to maintain. These temperatures will just ramp up very, very quickly. Just in getting strapped into the car right now. This is a team affair getting into these cars. It really is not a simple thing at all. Just walking a little bit further down here, seeing who else we've got lying around, and all the cars, all the drivers getting into position, and a few of them looking comfier than the others. They've had to stand around here for quite a long time, actually. They were ready, and they've had to stand around and get away from the heat as best they possibly can. I'm just going to see if I can get a couple of more interviews. Let's have a look down here. Richard is just getting strapped in, and might be best to leave him alone. And a lot of the other drivers now getting in the cars, as you would expect. So we've got a very, very competitive race coming up. I might actually just quickly jump in and speak to Vincent. I know that he's got to get together, but Vincent, do you mind if we jump in for a very quick second? I know that you just put your balaclava on and you're about to get going, but tell us a little bit about your position, your starting position on the grid, and what we can expect from you.
Well, yeah, I didn't get a very good race yesterday, so I'm sort of back where I started off at the start of the race, so I'll just see what I can do from there. it's just trying to get some points for the Clubman Championship, basically, because I'm leading that, but got to keep getting the points, keep racking up the points.
You know, when we talk to the drivers about these Formula Fords, everyone says it's competitive. They say they love the championships. It all comes down to driver ability. Is that what drives you? Is that what you love about it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just purely down to driver ability, because the cars are pretty much all similar. There's not much between them at all. So it just comes down to literally your talent, basically. So yeah.
How long have you been racing in this series for them?
6 years. About 6 years, yeah. So quite a long time, but still need to improve more. There's always room for improvement, but yeah, it's good fun and I enjoy it.
Well, looking ahead of you, there's going to be quite a long stream of cars ahead, so improvement is certainly what I know you'll be after. You've got some behind, so...
Yeah, there's a couple behind there, but I'll just try and keep them behind and try and make up a couple of positions, but yeah, we'll see how we go, but yeah, it's getting hard.
What is the key to the concentration and keeping cool in these sorts of weather conditions?
Yeah, I think just got to remain focused, just concentrate on what you're doing. It's a short race, so you've got to be on it from the from lights out. So yeah, you've got to really be focused. Yeah.
How far up do you think you can claim?
That's the $1 million question, but as many as I can get. Yeah, it won't be for the ones that try, and that's for sure.
Chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
I'll let you get ready. Thank you very much to Vincent there. Vincent getting in his car right now. So we're not sure how far he can go up the line. He's not sure either, but he's going to be trying. Every single driver out here is chomping at the bit right now. They've been out here in the heat. They've been very patient, shall we say, ready to get out on track, and I think we're going to have quite an exciting race coming up. Now, I'm not sure how easy this one's going to be for Andy to call, because we've got a 21-car grid, and the marshals walking around right now just giving the signal. I think we're only a few minutes away from the start of the race, and so we're starting to line up on the grid. And I know Andy's got the full grid there, and he's got a lot of information about where the drivers stand in the championship too. So I absolutely love Formula Ford. It's one of those championships out there that all the drivers give everything they possibly can, and it's normally nose to tail, 2 or 3 abreast going into quite a lot of these turns. And here at Castle Combe, as we mentioned a couple of times on this little chat we've had in the assembly area, small runoffs, fast speed can often lead to some unusual results. But Niall Murray, right the way down there in first place, he's likely to be on the pole. He's likely to be on the podium, I should say, a #1 spot on the podium. But will that happen? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bryn. Well, as you said, we're hopefully only a few minutes away from getting this race restarted. The reason for the delay is that the tyre wall that was demolished with the accident for Nick Hull in the previous Toyota Tyres Porsche Championship race, that tyre wall has had to be not just repair, but it looks like replaced entirely. So it's been a fairly lengthy recovery process. There you can see the Castle Combe Circuit workers hard at work. This is a job they will have done before, though, that's for sure. And I think they've almost got the final elements of that tyre wall in place. So hopefully won't be too long before we have cars making their way out onto the circuit. There is the medical car returning. Nick Hull, we saw, got out of the car okay. He's been taken to the medical centre, I'd imagine, for some checkups. More news on that when we get it, but he got out of the car under his own steam, which is the best news we've seen all day. This is also pretty good news, because I see people walking away from the tyre wall, which means that hopefully that means that we're almost in position. The JCB, it also looks like, is about to leave the scene, so hopefully racing should resume very shortly and in dramatic fashion, I'm sure. Hopefully not quite as dramatic as the Porsche race, but dramatic in other ways. Hopefully we'll see some good racing. We usually do with the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford Championship. Yesterday's race, I went to watch trackside up at Quarry yesterday, and the racing was remarkably calm, actually, by Formula Ford standards. We still had the usual 2 and 3 abreast racing, but Niall Murray got out in front, and we heard Luke Cooper discussing that spin that he had. That spin really split the pack about halfway through the race, allowing the top 3, Niall Murray, James Thorburn and Michael Eastwell, to pull away. And from that point onwards, they were never really challenged by the rest of the pack, who were all busy having a great race amongst themselves. Niall was under pressure until the last couple of laps. They managed to make a break and took the race victory. Behind, though, the people we were really watching were the likes of Joey Foster and Luke Cooper. Luke Cooper recovering from a spin, and Joey Foster recovering from a fairly lowly grid position. So Joey, if memory serves, didn't even start inside the top 10 yesterday, but Joey Foster, Formula 4 legend that he is, was always going to make progress, and he did. He got into 6th place in the end. Luke Cooper recovered to 8th after his early spin, and so they both managed to make some progress up the order. They'll be looking to make even more in today's pair of races. Though we have this race now, and then of course the reversed grid encounter later on in the afternoon in our afternoon stream. So both of them will be equally dramatic, I'm sure. the grid for this one based upon the result from yesterday's race, won by Niall Murray from Jamie Thorburn, so they will be on the front row together. Championship standings-wise, the one good thing about this red flag situation is it gave me plenty of time to get the calculator out and work out exactly what the championship scenario was. On scratch points, so on total points that have been scored all year, Niall Murray leads the way on 342 points. That is now nearly 100 points clear of anybody else, and that anybody else is headed by Michael Eastwell on 256 points. So 342 plays 256. However, you drop your worst 4 scores in the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford Championship, which is quite a lot of races to drop, but then it's quite a long season. So you drop your worst 4. That means that on dropped scores, Niall Murray actually drops 52 points, so he drops down onto 290 points. Michael Eastwell, on the other hand, drops quite a few less points, so he's still behind. He's on 211 points, so that's still, what, a 69-point deficit, but that's a little bit better than the 80-odd that he's behind on scratch points. The reason for that, though, of course, is that Niall Murray has been beautifully consistent all year long. Would you believe that Niall Murray has only missed the podium twice, and on both of those occasions, he failed to finish. So every race that he's finished, he's been on the podium. He has won 2, 4, 6, 7 times already this season, which is well, no one else, I don't think, because the only person who's won more than one race is Neil McLennan, who's not here this weekend. Everyone else making do with just the odd win here and there. Niall Murray has been in dominant form this season, and so he is still a very comfortable championship leader. On drop scores, though, second place actually changes hands, because Matt Round-Garrido, who is third on scratch points, moves ahead of Michael Eastwell on drop scores, but only by 1 point. So even if Niall Murray continues to pull away in the championship lead over the second half of the season, which is not guaranteed by any means, but even if he does, second place is very tight, because you've got Matt Round-Garrido on 212, Michael Eastwell on 211, then Luke Cooper and Jamie Thorburn tied for 4th place on 192, just a single point ahead of Neil McLennan on 191, so it's very close for second on back. But that man there, Niall Murray, fairly comfortable championship leader, and he really has been in dominant form. Having said that, though, he's not winning the races by a long way. He's just very good at fending off the chasing pack, but no one ever dominates a Formula Ford race and wins by 5 or 6 seconds. It's always very close, but that really makes Niall Murray's win rate all the more surprising, really, and certainly been a very, very successful season, a very impressive season for Niall Murray thus far. The other winners this season, Matt Round-Garrido won a race back at Knock Hill. Luke Cooper won a sensational second race at Silverstone at the start of the season. The first race of that weekend was won by Joey Foster, and as I said, Neil McLennan has a couple of race victories, one at Knock Hill and one at Brands Hatch. So the last 2 meetings, Neil McLennan has actually won the 3rd race, the reverse grid race on the programme. Niall Murray, though, a win at Silverstone, a win at Knock Hill, 2 wins at Brands Hatch, and 2 wins at Kyrgyzstan, which were, that's something else we should mention, really. The last time we saw these cars racing on the TCR UK package was at Brands Hatch. They have since been over to Ireland for their traditional Irish holiday. 3 races at Kyrgyzstan, the first 2 won by Niall Murray, the 3rd one won by Matt Round-Garrido. So I beg your pardon, he is the other driver who has 2 race victories to his name. Well, there is some good news. The cars are actually heading out onto the track now ahead of what is a 15-minute race for this 14th round of the 2018 Avon Tyres National Formula Ford 1600 Championship. And there goes Nico Gruber. We've got the 65 car behind and Jack Wolfenden. Some real quality names a little bit further down the order than you might expect, but such is the quality of this grid. It's always natural, I think, to see some quick drivers struggling, just because there are so many of them. They can't all be in the front of the grid. So they head out of the pit lane the wrong way, and they will line their way up. There is, at the back of the grid, Thomas Capezzo, who was one of 2 non-finishes yesterday. He and Roger Orgy were tangled up on the 4th lap of the race. Neither of them got to the end of the race, but they will be there for trying to move through from towards the back of the grid. So ones to watch out for them. Well, you can just see there the red car with the white nose, car number 6, that's Luke Cooper, spinner yesterday. Can he become a winner today? This is one of his best circuits. He was really hoping to maximise that this weekend and try and claw some points away from Niall Murray, but it didn't start off particularly well yesterday. The other one, of course, to keep an eye on is Joey Foster, who lines up directly in front of him, the all-black number 155 car. They're two cars that are slightly out of position that should be making their way forwards. Well, the klaxon has gone, the boards are being shown. There's a green flag lap, of course, to get underway before the race gets started. But then once the race gets underway, we will have 15 minutes of frantic Formula Ford 1600 national racing. So there is the grid lining up. The green flag is waved. The cars make their way in rather energetic fashion out onto the green flag lap. Niall Murray it is who will lead the charge down towards the first corner. Onside him will be Jamie Thorburn, very rapid Scottish driver, but Jamie still looking for his first race victories of the season. He's been on the podium, I think just twice, hasn't he? Yes, the second and third races, appropriately enough, in his home race at Knockhill, Jamie Thorburn was on the podium, and he would really like to, and of course yesterday he was on the podium with a second place finish, but he'd love to add to that, and he'd love to get that first win. He's one of the drivers who I would say I'm surprised hasn't won a race yet this season, because he's been up there all year long. Just a little bit of inconsistency going on, really. The other man, of course, who hasn't won a race yet, that really should have done, is Michael Eastwell. He's second in the championship. He's not won a race yet. He's second place on scratch points, third on drop scores. So Michael Eastwell, the man who lines up third on the grid for this one, yet to take a race victory. So there's some threat for Niall Murray. He's got two drivers immediately behind him. In fact, three drivers immediately behind him who've not won, because Hugo Bentley-Ellis, fourth on the grid, also looking for his first victory. There is confirmation of the grid. Then Niall Murray, yesterday's winner, is on pole position. Again, they start this one the way in which they finished yesterday's race. So it's Niall Murray from Jamie Thorburn, row 1. Michael Eastwell and Hugo Bentley-Ellis make up the second row of the grid. And then they will both, as I say, all three of those, Thorburn, Eastwell and Bentley-Ellis, looking for their first race victory of the season. Then it's Matt Rangarido ahead of Joey Foster. They're two to watch out for. Carter Williams doing well in 7th place. Luke Cooper determined to make up for that spin yesterday, lining up in 8th. Felix Fischer and Rory Smith are on the 5th row ahead of Jonathan Brown and Nico Gruber, the Austrian driver, who again really should be inside the top 10. That shows the competitive nature of the grid, though. Jack Wolfenden and Sebastian Job are next in line ahead of James Clark and David MacArthur on the 8th row of the grid. Richard Morris and David Malone, on the 9th row with Vincent Jay and Roger Orgy ahead of Thomas Cafetzone at the back of the grid. So the cars make their way down towards the end of the green flag lap. This should be good. Formula Ford racing never fails to entertain. And around Castle Combe, of course, Castle Combe itself holds one of its resident championships, is a Formula Ford 1600 championship. A lot of these drivers compete fairly regularly in that, so they'll all be fairly familiar with the circuit. That gives them the confidence to go out there and really push hard, and they know where all the overtaking spots are, and they know how to defend, and they know where they can maybe take a few liberties and take a few risks. And so Castle Combe, although it's a circuit that doesn't get that much coverage on the national stage, it is a circuit that most of these drivers are fairly familiar with. Back row of the grid, I can see out of the windows, just about formed up with Roger Orgy and Thomas Cafetzone, another one we'll be watching for, moving through the order from the back after his non-finish yesterday. We are ready to go racing in round number 14 of the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford 1600 Championship. Away we go. Who makes the best start from the front row of the grid? There's a few sluggish way further back, but Murray will lead up towards turn number 1. Slotting in immediately behind him is Jamie Thorburn. Michael Eastwell holds on to 3rd place. Here comes Matt Rangarido on the inside for 4th as they're side by side up towards Avon Rise for the first time. Wheel to wheel there, but they're single file actually at the very front of the field. Murray moves over to the right-hand side to defend as they hit the brakes into Quarry for the first time of asking. It's Matt Rangarido coming around the outside there in 4th place, looking for 3rd on Michael Eastwell. He's still alongside him, but that's the outside line for the entry to the S's. This can get very tight indeed for 3rd place. It's definitely Murray from Thorburn, the top 2. And yes, Matt Rangarido moves through from 5th on the grid into 3rd, halfway around the first lap. Eastwell's down to 4th. Foster is there in 5th place as they turn their way through Hammer Down for the first time and in towards Tower Corner. Now Jamie Thorburn, he's in the slipstream. He's looking to try and attack down into the right-hander. Oh, now Murray runs a bit wide there, misses the apex. Will that bring Thorburn alongside? No, Murray got decent power and traction out of the turn. Luke Cooper, I can see, has gained 2 spots. He's into 6th already from 8th place on the grid as they make their way back down towards us at the end of the opening lap. A 15-minute thrash around Castle Combe for the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford 1600 Championship. There is Joey Foster, and there is Luke Cooper immediately behind him. So 2 of the quick cars right together as they flash through across the start-finish line to end the opening lap. 1 or 2 running a bit wide over the curb, but they're all safely through. There's Matt Rangarino going for 2nd place now, the inside of Thorburn. He's done it. Matt Rangarino goes into 2nd position as they went through Folly and in towards Avon Rise. He is on an absolute mission here, determined to get his 3rd race win of the season and to try and stop the rampage of Niall Murray with all of these race victories that he keeps getting. It would be really nice for Matt Rangarino to get up there and take some points away. Remember, Matt, on drop scores, is 2nd in the championship. Well, he's now 2nd in the race as well, so that graphic already out of date. It's Murray from Rangarino from Thorburn, your top 3. One runs across the grass further back. We've got one spinning on the grass as well down at the S's, so a couple of drivers coming to grief on this 2nd lap of the race. But all of this dicing for 2nd place is just allowing Niall Murray to break away, and whilst it is difficult to escape in Formula Ford racing, if you do break the toe, it's very hard for the chasing pack to catch you because they really have to work together to try and bridge that gap. But getting a group of Formula Ford drivers to work together is not the easiest task in the world. Rangarino, though, looks to be gapping Thorburn slightly. He's got there 4th, then Foster, then Cooper, then Hugo Bentley Ellis, the big loser off the start really there, the white and blue car in shot, dropping all the way down into 7th place from 4th on the grid. So his chances of a first victory of the season falling by the wayside, it would seem. Up towards Avon Rise we go again, and this time it's Eastwell attacking Jamie Thorburn. So Thorburn does seem to be struggling along the pit straight, doesn't he? Maybe a lack of power, maybe just not getting out of the final corner very well. Murray uses all of the curve there as they turn through Quarry. He's 7/10 of a second ahead of the rest of the field. 1 minute 10.3 is his first flying lap, side by side between Luke Cooper and Hugo Bentley Ellis in the background. No, that was not in the plan there for Cooper, coming under pressure from Hugo, and that really dropped him away from that pack. Look at that, Cooper and Bentley Ellis really falling away. Then it looks like Carter Williams in the 150 car heading up the next group around on this 3rd lap. Turn their way back through Tower though, and is that lead gap coming down? I'd say it possibly is. They've been fairly sensible, haven't they? Rangarino, Thorburn, Eastwell and Cooper. Oh no, off! Oh no, into the tyre wall has gone Jamie Thorburn, and he's broken the front right suspension. That's an absolute disaster for Jamie Thorburn, who was so strong yesterday. He's clipped the tyre stack up at the Bobby's chicane. That's broken the front right suspension, and he is out of the race. Disaster for Thorburn. Great news though for Matt Rangarino because it takes the pressure off him and he can go after the race leader. There's the replay, he catches the tyre stack, the front right suspension is broken. That is always a risk in open wheel single-seater racing, that if you hit anything at the side of the circuit it's likely to damage the suspension and put you out on the spot. He was looking not to end up in the cornfield. Actually, we had a few drivers end up off there yesterday, but thankfully he managed to avoid that. Right then, leaders are together now. Matt Rangarino with a score to settle in the championship to try and win. He's right in behind Niall Murray. There's Michael Eastwell 3rd, Foster 4th, Cooper 5th, Bentley Ellis is into 6th, and up into 7th place. We're having a change now. I think that is Felix Fisher, who's got himself ahead of Carter Williams now into 7th position. Back through Tower they go, up towards the scene of the crime from a lap ago. And can Matt Rangarino apply enough pressure to Niall Murray to force a mistake out of the Irishman? It's unlikely, you'd have to say. But let's see as they make their way back down in towards Camp. He's only a couple of car lengths behind. See the rest of the field streaming through Bobby's there and back down towards us at the end of their 4th lap of the race. It's another fastest lap for Matt Rangarino, a 109.735. That could be a new lap record, you know. We know Niall Murray was very close to the new lap record yesterday. It's certainly a fastest lap, but I think that could be a new lap record for Matt Rangarino as he used the toe from Niall Murray's car to really close in on the race leader down towards the chicane at the S's they go. They've really pulled away from Eastwell in 3rd and Foster in 4th, who in turn are being caught again by Cooper and Bentley Ellis 5th and 6th. So they're pairing off slightly here. And the leading 2, if they start battling, then that could allow the rest to close in out of Hammerdown. Back down towards Tower Corner. In the slipstream once again is Matt Rangarino. Too far back though to go up the inside into the right-hander. He's definitely winning now. He's in the slipstream, so it's going to be harder for Niall Murray to drop him, especially since Matt Rangarino is not feeling any pressure from the cars behind. Over the curve, back down through Westway, in towards the final corner, and we look for the lap times and what sort of pace can Niall Murray pull out of the bag here to try and get back away from Matt Garrido. Down into Camp Corner they go. Leaders cross the line. Gap goes out ever so slightly. It's not a great lap time that time around for Matt Garrido. As you can see here, third, fourth, fifth and sixth are starting to get themselves a little bit closer together. Back down, up the hill I should say, in towards Quarry they go. Matt got close to, in fact, Hugo Bentley-Ellis has now set the fastest lap of 109.581, and that, I'm afraid, is Jack Wolfenden off the side of the road. Now, I can't see any suspension damage there, so that looks like it might possibly be a mechanical issue for the Furman driver. But yes, so Hugo Bentley-Ellis in 6th position, a 109.581. That is a remarkable lap time. Here's what happened to Jack Wolfenden. It was a spin coming out of Bobby's, and I think he's just stalled the car, possibly. There was nothing evidently wrong with the car. The car just didn't ever restart after its spin. Right, leaders are going down through the S's, that is. Or these are the midfield battles, excuse me, going through. Here is this third place battle that's raging. We go through the yellow flag zone, and it's still Eastwell third, Foster fourth, Cooper fifth, and Bentley-Ellis in sixth. Can Hugo set another quick lap time this time around, I wonder? The other thing that's happening, by the way, is that this third place queue is catching the leading pair, although not on that lap. On the previous lap, they were a few tenths quicker. That time around, they were a few tenths slower, so the gap goes back out. So it's Murray from Garrido, then the gap back to Eastwell, Foster, Cooper, and Hugo Bentley-Ellis, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Fisher is seventh. Nico Gruber is up to 8th place, by the way. No, he's not, excuse me. Felix Fisher is. There's a transponder not quite working somewhere in there. So Carter Williams back into 7th, Fisher 8th, Gruber 9th. And rounding out the top 10 is Jonathan Brown, who we haven't mentioned yet, but he got himself into the top 10. From the back of the grid, Thomas Capezzone is 15th. So he's only overtaken 3 drivers, because the other 2, Jack Wolfenden and David Maloney, are both out of the race. Side by side there in the background there, that looked like Luke Cooper getting involved with Joey Foster possibly as they went in towards Tower Corner. How does that one settle out? It is going to be Cooper through, so Cooper goes 4th. So Luke Cooper gaining a position. That was a really important position to gain as well, because you can see Michael Eastwell getting away. So Cooper goes into 4th, and Joey Foster down into 5th place. Luke Cooper, remember, is tied for 4th place in the championship on drop scores with Jamie Thorburn. Well, Jamie Thorburn's out of the race, so that's good news for Cooper. Across the line we go, lead gap going back out again. Now it's the biggest it's been, 9/10 of a second now, separate Niall Murray and Matt Garrido. The question is, what's the gap between Cooper and Eastwell? It's 1 second, but look at this. They are almost pushing each other up the hill here as they fan out 3 abreast. This could get messy in towards Quarry. That's Hugo Bentley-Ellis going around the outside of Joey Foster into the braking zone. We'll catch up on them in a moment. Let's see what happens as they come out of the corner. Same order, so still Foster 5th and Bentley-Ellis 6th. That's taking the pressure away from Luke Cooper. Hugo looks up the inside down towards the S's. Can he force his way through? Yes, he can, but he runs wide on the exit of the corner. Foster comes back and him all out of shape. Side by side out of the corner they go, and still Joey Foster will not give this place away. Joey is determined to hang on to 5th and to try and hang on to the coattails of Luke Cooper, but I think that ship's already sailed, because Cooper is well up the road. Down in towards town they go. Foster on the inside. Bentley-Ellis looking to the outside line, trying to get the cut back on the exit of the corner. We are approaching 2/3 race distance, and this is the closest battle inside the top half dozen or so. It looked like Bentley-Ellis did get ahead down at the S's, but then just outbraked himself, ran out wide, and so Joey Foster came straight back at him. So back through Camp Corner, about to go. Bentley-Ellis looking to the outside. You can't go around the outside here, Hugo. And he realises that cuts back in line, but that scuppered his run through the corner, really. Lead gap for the first time all race is over a second now between Murray and Garrido, so 1.2 seconds is the gap between them. Eastwell 3rd, Cooper 4th, then this is the battle for 5th. Joe Foster and Hugo Bentley-Ellis side by side again as they go up the hill. And Hugo Bentley-Ellis looking this way and that, just desperately trying to prise the door open. Still can't do it though. There is your lead gap. Now is Eastwell catching Garrido? Yes, he is. Michael Eastwell was 2/10 quicker than Garrido last time around. He's now only 1 second behind, and once you get within sort of 6 or 7 tenths or so, then you start picking up a whiff of that slipstream, and the gap can come down even quicker. This, though, still the closest battle, so we'll focus on this for the time being. Joey Foster just does seem to be struggling for pace a little bit this weekend, whereas Hugo Bentley-Ellis is having one of his best weekends of the season so far, I think. Hugo has a best finish. He has had a podium. He's had 1 podium at Brands Hatch and a 4th place finish at Brands Hatch as well. So definitely he's getting quicker as the season goes on. But Hugo Bentley-Ellis would love to get another top 5, and this time he might have got to the inside line down towards Camp Corner. Joey Foster puts him on the grass. Oh, look at that. Joey Foster determined to close the door. Hugo will not like that. Joey Foster kept on coming over to the right-hand side of the road, and Hugo Bentley-Ellis was already alongside. They avoided contact, but only because Hugo took to the grass, lost all of his momentum. Back in the slipstream again, though, now as they go up towards Quarry Corner. Joey defends the inside, though. We heard Niall Murray saying it's fairly easy to defend. It's this part of the circuit, the back wheels in the braking zone. Oh, Hugo's out of shape. He's off wide on the marbles. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Hand out of the cockpit. He's getting a bit more frustrated now, I think, with Joey Foster, with some of his rather robust defensive tactics. But this is Formula Ford racing, I suppose. It's no holds barred, and they're not out there to make friends. They're out there to score points and try to get a good finish, as good a finish as they can. There's the battle going on behind. Carter Williams just ahead still of Felix Fisher. Then it's Jonathan Brown ahead of Nico Gruber, and off further back. Someone's spinning off and exiting stage right. Didn't see who that was. The tyre smoke in the background tells me that someone pointed the wrong way round. But we'll try and pick up who that was in a moment or two. It was car number 13, Sebastian Job, who has made the tyre wall, I think, just about. The Van Diemen, the 2017 spec Van Diemen, is off the road and out of the race. Steering wheel's coming off, so his race is done. So the lead pack down towards Camp Corner. Look at that. We've got Hugo Bentley-Ellis again trying to go around the outside of Joey Foster. So he's already caught Foster. That shows the sort of pace that Hugo's got, and that Joey hasn't got, maybe, because that gap was over a second when they came through last time around, and now it's down to nothing. There's Luke Cooper. He's running in 4th place, lapping fractionally quicker than the leaders in front of him on the previous lap. But the gap that's really come down is the gap between Matt Rangarino and Michael Eastwell. 2nd to 3rd is now only 0.6 of a second. So for the last couple of laps, there you can see that they're absolutely together and all out of shape there. Through a yellow flag zone was Michael Eastwell down at the S's, but there was no overtaking done. He clobbered the curb, I think, and it's very easy to get loose through that part of the circuit in a low downforce single-seaters such as these. 2.5 minutes to go now, so they will have time possibly for 2 more laps after this one. Yeah, they should get 2 more laps in as they go back down through the S's again. There's this battle, and Hugo Bentley-Ellis is now ahead of Joey Foster. So Bentley-Ellis has finally broken through the defences of Joey Foster, and he's worked his way through into 5th position now. So they come through towards Camp Corner. We will indeed have 2 more laps to go. Niall Murray crosses the start-finish line. He's back the pace right off now. 1 minute 10.1 he's doing. Fractionally slower than Matt Rangarino, who was fractionally quicker than Michael Eastwell. So the gaps are fairly static for the time being. Then we've got Cooper 4th. This battle for 5th between Bentley-Ellis and Joey Foster, and then that almighty gaggle of cars fighting over 6th place, 7th place, still being led by Carter Williams, with Felix Fisher, Nico Gruber and Jonathan Brown all in the mix. Roger Orgy. Now Roger Orgy, remember, he started at the back with Thomas Capezzone. Well, Roger has got into 11th place. Capezzone is only 14th, but then Roger is a regular in the Castle Combe Formula 4 1600 Championships. He's done an awful lot of laps around this place, and he's really been able to work his way through nicely. He could even get a top 10 before the time runs out. What about 2nd place, though? Matt Rangarino has got Michael Eastwell breathing down his neck. He's sat on the gearbox of the car in front as they head back into that yellow flag zone down at Bobby's, but it's not really an overtaking opportunity anyway, so he'll instead set himself up for the slipstream down towards Camp Corner and try to carry the speed out of this final turn and along the pit straight. Into the right-hander they go. A bit wide there for Rangarino, missed the apex. That definitely has closed the gap again. It's less than the car length now to go on to the final lap of the race. So Niall Murray's looking good for the race victory, but it's going to be side by side for 2nd place, I think, because around the outside is coming Michael Eastwell. They almost bang wheels at the fastest part of the circuit. That was so close, and again they almost bang wheels. Matt Rangarino on the inside, on the outside line is Michael Eastwell. They turn into the right-hander at Quarry. Can Eastwell go right round the outside? No, he can't. But he might still be there as they go down towards the S's, actually. Again, they almost... Oh, no! Contact! Eastwell off onto the grass. That did not have to happen. Michael Eastwell gets tagged. They were coming so close to banging wheels for the best part of half a lap, and they finally made contact. And Michael Eastwell off onto the grass. Matt Rangarino will go through into 2nd place again. Here it is. Look, see, Eastwell was trying to go right round the outside. Now, who moves over on who? Well, it's 6 to 1 and half to the other, I think that wasn't it. They sort of both converged the lines, but Eastwell ends up off the road. He will rejoin, I think. I don't think there's any damage to the car as long as it's not stalled, but that is a real shame for Michael Eastwell, who was having a great race and looked as though he might have been able to get 2nd place out of it. This, though, is now the fight for 2nd. Look, Luke Cooper has caught Matt Rangarino as a result of that. They've got 1 more corner to go. Niall Murray is coming out of the final corner to take another race victory. He extends his championship lead. Who's going to go home 2nd? There's Simon side by side at the line, and Matt Rangarino hangs on by 1/10 of a second over Luke Cooper, but Luke will be pretty happy with that one from 8th on the grid. Hugo Bentley-Ellis comes through 4th, Joey Foster is 5th, 6th I think it's going to be Eastwell, yes, so Michael Eastwell rejoins 6th after the spin, then it is Carter Williams in 7th, Nico Gruber 8th, Felix Fisher 9th, and Jonathan Brown rounds out the top 10. Well, I said it was going to be a breathless race. It calmed down a bit in the middle, but that last lap was dramatic for second position, and I wonder whether there might be a discussion post-race about that one. It's hard to apportion any blame, really. They were just racing hard for the position, and with one of the quirks of Formula Ford's 1600 cars, of course, is that the wheels stick out so far away from the body of the car, and so it's very easy to interlock wheels, and the slightest touch and around you go. So a shame for Michael Eastwell, but he still finishes 6th. It's still some championship points. I don't think that will count as one of his dropped scores, though, will it? No, because he's had his first 4 races of the season were his four worst finishes of the season. He didn't ever finish better than 8th in the first 4 races, but ever since then he's been a regular top 5 finisher, which is why he was 3rd place in the championship going into this race. But that will not have helped him at all. Of course, don't forget that he and Raul Garrido were fighting for 2nd in the championship. They were only a point apart going into that race, so that incident all of a sudden takes on extra significance. Niall Murray will take 32 points out of that race, which will put him on to 322 points. We're doing the very quick maths now. We'll run through the results first. Niall Murray takes the victory. Matt Rangarino is 2nd. 3rd for Luke Cooper. 4th, Hugo Bentley-Ellis, one of his best results of the year. Joey Foster 5th, Michael Eastwell drops to 6th, 7th, Carter Williams, 8th for Nico Gruber, 9th, Felix Fisher, and 10th, Jonathan Brown. We've got 5 Rays there in the top 10, but none of them on the podium, unfortunately. Another Ray is 11th, that's Roger Orgy, ahead of David McCarthy, 12th, James Clark 13th, and Thomas Capatone from the back of the grid to 14th. Rory Smith is 15th, Richard Morris 16th, Vince J 17th, and then our retirements. David Maloney, I think, had a pit stop. Sebastian Job we saw in the tyre wall at Bobby's, and Jack Wolfenden was a fairly early retirement as well. Only managed the first few laps of the race. So the cars make their way down into the paddock. I'll just very quickly continue to try and do the math. So 322 points for Niall Murray. There's no doubt about that. He's going to extend his championship lead. Michael Eastwell, for 2nd place, though, he's going to 6th place. Sorry, he's going to lose quite a lot of points. We'll go to some highlights, though, first, I think, of what was a traumatic Formula Ford 1600 race. As the lights went off, it was Niall Murray who led the field away from pole position, but it was a great start further back by Luke Cooper as he started to make some progress towards the sharp end of the field immediately. Jamie Thorburn slotted the line in 2nd place with Eastwell 3rd, and there when Matt Rangarino, he was also making progress in the early going. On the early laps of the race, Thorburn was really applying the pressure to Niall Murray, but was to make a mistake fairly early on that would prove very costly. Matt Rangarino got past Thorburn, first of all, though, on the grass down the pit straight, as he took 2nd place away from the Scottish driver, who then hit the tyres down at Bobby's and sent himself almost into the cornfield, but damaged front right suspension meant that he was out on the spot. The best battle through the middle portion of the race was the one between Joey Foster and Hugo Bentley-Ellis. They were side by side on multiple occasions, and on sometimes it got a little bit close for comfort with, on that occasion there, Hugo Bentley-Ellis ending up on the grass down into a camp corner. He went to the outside into Quarry, got on the marbles, almost skated off the road. The frustration was starting to show, but he would eventually find a way through. Eastwell caught Matt Rangarino, the 2 cars fighting for 2nd place in the championship, were fighting for 2nd place in the race. They almost banged wheels on several occasions before on the final lap of the race it looked like Eastwell had gone through. The tiniest of touches, though, sent the number 92 car spinning into the field. Niall Murray, though, was able to escape to a fairly comfortable race win in the end. Matt Rangarino had to fend off a last lap challenge from Luke Cooper, but was able to finish 2nd to further establish himself as the 2nd place man in the championship. And it's Murray who extends the championship lead with race victory in round number 14 of the championship. Well, I'm sure there are some stories to be told after what was a dramatic race here, the 2nd race of the weekend for the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford Championship. Bryn is down in the paddock with our podium finishers.
Yeah, and with a very, very happy but quietly content and reserved Niall Murray. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. No, I'm absolutely delighted, especially really happy for Bernard and the team for getting a 1-2 here again. Yeah, I got a couple of them this year and just, once again, proves who's the best in the paddock. So, yeah, really, really happy. Managed to do a 9.5 of my own. I know the fast lap was a 9.5, so I don't know whether I got it or not, and that would have been a lap record. So, yeah, absolutely delighted. Can't wait for race 3.
It looked quite a comfortable win, but I tell you, I bet inside that car it wasn't as comfortable because you were being pushed, you were being, kept honest, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as I saw Matt come in second, I thought, grand, they'll keep each other busy and I'll pull away. And then Matt just put in a couple of obviously high 9 lap times. I was only doing 10s at that stage, and he caught right on top of me. So yeah, I knew it was going to be tough to shrug him off, and I think he made 1 or 2 mistakes and just about broke the toe. So I managed to just get the head down and do a couple of 9.7s, 9.6, 9.5. So yeah.
Another race, another win. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
There was Niall. Let's move on to our second place drive then. Let's go to Matt round Garida now. We spoke to him before the race actually, and started 5th on the grid on row 3, powering through. But it was a great race. But of course, we had the off near the end, not for yourself, but for Eastwell, that kind of helped everybody move up a little bit.
Yeah, well, like you said, I started 5th on the grid, and I was given an amazing car. So, to be honest, it's always hard. It's never easy, but it's easier than it would have been. And I just got in second, started reeling in Niall, and then I think I started developing a minor issue or something. We'll have a look into it when I talk to the team now. But yeah, so then I was struggling to keep up with Niall, and he's so on it. So I was just pushing on. Saw Eastwell catching me up, obviously. Local knowledge, really fast driver as well, so I was like, come on, get your head down. Then on the last lap, he did me around the outside of the first corner, and we came out the exit side by side, and then he just came across on me on the runs for chicane, so he had more momentum than me, so he might have thought that he'd cleared me, but unfortunately not, so he tangled, and I think he did a 360, kept going, and I've got some wishbone damage, which is a shame. I'd have rather kept going at it with him side by side for the rest of the last lap, but that so
was quite interesting to view, I believe, but they hopefully have got over that now. They're back to being friends because they usually can be seen hanging around in the paddock together. Most of the drivers, there's a great sense of camaraderie between them, and a lot of the cars out there being run privately by the drivers, some of them being run by the bigger teams like AK Automotive or Paul Cheard Racing. Rob Boston Racing, of course. Rob Boston himself, a former Mazda MX-5 champion, now runs cars in this and the Ginetta GT4 Super Cup as well. So Rob Boston Racing, who run, in fact, the Luke Herbert car that has been doing so well here this weekend. Another driver we mentioned earlier on was Alan Henderson, car 185, running 11th place at the moment is Alan, and he was the champion, if I remember correctly. 2016 was his championship winning year. He dominated the season though, won it with rounds to spare, which is very unlike this championship. But Alan Henderson, the northerner, almost an honorary Scot. He lives that far north, but he hasn't raced with us regularly since then. This is his first appearance of the season, and it would be nice to see him make a full return because he's definitely a potential race winner. So we're hearing that the repair work up at the first corner, there are 6 posts on that barrier that need repairing. So and that's going to take some time. So the latest figure we've been given is about a 30-minute delay. So 30-minute delay. The Mazdas are being sent off the grid, so they're not going to restart this race by the looks of it. That's a shame. So it looks like our next race will be for the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup. That's not going to happen for another 30 minutes or so. We'll give you any updates that we can in that time. But the Mazdas are heading down into the paddock. Hopefully this means that Bryn will be able to have a chat with them, but what we don't know is whether that race is going to count for championship points, because they only ever completed 2 laps. Now, we haven't been told whether or not the session will be restarted either, so as soon as I get a chance to grab somebody from the BRSCC, I will do so and try and get to the bottom of what's going to happen here, because there's been no notification that the session's been cancelled, just that it's been stopped and now the cars are being sent off the grid. But unlike Porsche race we had earlier on, we haven't had any notification that that's it. So we'll wait and see. Watch this space on that one, but at least a 30-minute delay, we believe, to get the tyre wall and, more importantly, as I said, that Armco barrier repaired. We believe the drivers, I think, are all out of the cars and being taken to the medical centre or whatnot. But the barrier is now what needs the most attention. So, sorry about this. This is unfortunately part of motor racing, though, and if ever you're watching a race in a circuit that's got acres of tarmac runoff area and you're complaining about how boring it is and how soulless the circuit is, this is why. Because when you've got circuits with less runoff area and tyre barriers that can get damaged. This is unfortunately part and parcel of it. We wouldn't change Castle Combe for the world, though. It adds such great character to the circuit, and the drivers know that if they make a mistake, they will be punished for it. And it's just a shame that it can sometimes lead to some slight delays in the programme. But more news as we get it, as far as what the rest of the day's programme is going to look like, whether we'll maybe get some races run later on in the day. There you can see just the scale of this repair work. That drill is going to be probably one of many tools used to get this fixed. The JCB will be on hand. Got to move the tyres first of all out of the way so they can get to the barrier. Obviously the catch fencing behind the barrier means that you can't get any access to the rear of the fence to repair the barrier from there, so you have to do it from trackside, sort of reach over with a crane and pull it back forward. So that's going to be quite a long pause in proceedings, I think, before we get our next races underway. Apologies for that, but as soon as we can get the cars back racing, we will do. Well, whilst we are waiting for the race to get back underway, we will take a look back at what was a dramatic first few minutes or so of the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. If you've just joined us and you've missed what happened and you don't know why we're under a delay, we had a fairly sizable accident a couple of laps into that race, which has required fairly significant barrier repair work, which we believe is going to take up to 30 minutes or so of repair time. There you can see the damage to the barrier. Now though, let's take a look back at what happened in that race, and we'll be back with you with some live racing as soon as we can. So championship-wise, we came into this weekend, and when drop scores were taken into account, Luke Herbert was 2 points ahead of James Blake Baldwin and Jack Harding. Well, of course, in yesterday's race, James beat Luke, so took 2 points out of him. So they're now tied for the championship lead coming into this race. Oh, and they're starting together on the second row of the grid. So the two blue cars, the blue car with the orange stripes, car number 4, that is James Blake Baldwin, champion in 2015. Luke Herbert, car number 1, there you can see him, the all-blue car. He is the reigning champion, and they are tied for the championship lead. Jack Harding, who came into the weekend 2 points off the championship lead, was only able to finish 5th yesterday, so he has dropped a few more points. I think, if I'm right, he's about 6 points now off the championship lead coming into this race. So it's going to be important for him to try and put that disappointing qualifying result yesterday behind him and try and take some points away from them. A big grid of cars, but two drivers at the front of the grid that we're not that accustomed to seeing. Yesterday's winner, Steve Roberts, and Christian White, former ML2 race winner, looking for his first ever podium in this championship. The green flags wave, the lights go out, we are away and racing. Good start made by Aidan Hills, look a bit further back, but it's wheel to wheel for the race lead between Steve Roberts and Christian White on the run towards turn number 1. Roberts will get it. White trying to squeeze back in line. He puts Luke Herbert on the grass, but Herbert will go through into second place. So Luke Herbert immediately making really good progress onto the tail of the race leader. He's gesticulating at the cars behind, saying, work with me, don't try and race me. Well, they're 4 abreast, Luke. I've got news for you. That's not going to happen. He slots through into second place. Blake Baldwin's going to try and go third, which he does. Slots across the front of 3 other cars to get third place, but he's determined that he's not going to let Luke Herbert escape. So it's Roberts from Herbert, from Blake Baldwin, the top 3, down towards the S's for the first time. Who's there in 4th is Aidan Hills, I think, who's gone through into 4th position. And Christian White has been mugged down to 5th. He's got Jack Harding alongside him now. Oh, Jack Harding on the grass. That's not what he needs. He's still at the inside there to go down through Hammer Down for the first time and then in towards Tower Corner. Right, let's try and settle this all out then. Top 4 single file for the time being. White there in 5th, Harding 6th, Greensmith 7th, Garnett 8th and Simon Baldwin 9th. And the rest of them all filing in behind as they turn down in towards Bobby's for the first time of asking. But Steve Roberts, well, in yesterday's race, he had to fight back after that first lap contact with Blake Baldwin to take the victory. This time around, though, he's got to try and lead it from the front, and that is something he's never done in this championship before. And as if that wasn't hard enough, he's got the top 2 in the championship breathing down his neck. There's Christian White ahead of Jack Harding and everybody else filing in behind through Camp Corner. bit of side-by-side action a bit further back, but they're all safely through and back along the start-finish line they go. Slipstream now starts to take effect. Bits and pieces bouncing down the road from a bit of contact on the opening lap, presumably. But it is going to be Luke Urban applying the pressure to the... Oh, big shunt further back. Oh, no, that's a big old accident there for number 89. That is going to be... Sorry, 99, I think that was. That's surely going to be a safety car, maybe a red flag. 3 cars, I believe, are involved in that going through the first corner. And that is another sizable shunt, I'm afraid. Yellow flags waving, no sign yet of a safety car, but you'd imagine it's coming. We'll try and pick out exactly who those cars were that got involved in that accident at the first corner. Hands out of the cockpit, so the safety car is being called for, but that could even be a red flag potentially. We'll wait and see. Steve Roberts, though, holding on to the race lead. And, well, my goodness me, we've had some drama this morning, haven't we, at Castle Combe? And it continues here with the MX-5 Super Cup. So, Marshall's on the scene to try and get that one cleared up as soon as they can. This is a 20-minute race, so we've got time to follow around the safety car for a little while, but obviously we'd rather be able to get the race back underway as soon as possible, but the safety of the drivers involved has to be the priority here. The good news is there's no sign of a red flag, so I think we're fairly hopeful, therefore. We won't need to stop the race altogether, but let's try and get some confirmation as to who it is who has been involved in that one. Cars stream across the line then. The timing screen starts to correct itself. We've got everyone in the top 10. We've got everyone in the top 14 now. It's Brad Kent, Alex Miller and Nick Rutter who don't appear to have come through. Nick Rutter, I think, is the car on top of the barriers that we saw flipping into view. Bradley Kent was running with him. They've had all those 3 cars. In fact, there is 38 Bradley Kent, confirmation of that, one of the Paul Sheard cars. So Bradley Kent involved. He, as I said, younger brother of Lewis, the driver we'll see racing in the TCR UK races later on today. And there's Alex Miller. So confirmation it was those 3 cars. So it's Miller, Kent and Rutter involved at turn number 1. And that was a big, big accident. And it's good to see. Well, Nick Rutter, I think, is still in the car. But that's mainly because he can't climb out of it because it's perched on top of the barriers. But you can see him moving around chatting to the marshals. But that car may have even gone over, to be honest. It was hard to tell, wasn't it? But it's perched with the rear wheels on the tyre wall and the front wheels torn off altogether. But that is it's an easy flat-out kink there as they go through Folly, the right-hander. We're going to see a replay, I believe. Let's see what we can see. They sort of appeared into our view, didn't they, from our initial camera point. This will show a part of the story. So we were focusing on the leaders, and then into view they come, and Nick Rutter so nearly went over there. You can see the wheel coming off. Bradley Kent exited stage left, and Nick Rutter on top of the tyre wall down at the first corner. Now, I can't tell whether there's any... the tyre wall is damaged, there's no doubt about it, but it's not as bad as we've seen on previous occasions. So hopefully it won't take too long to get that repaired, but with time ticking away, there isn't really time. I was about to say there's no time for a red flag and a restart, but we do have a red flag, so the race is being stopped so that they can get the incident cleared up, get the tyre wall repaired. But yeah, the red flag flying, and it's another race being stopped, unfortunately. But safety is paramount. They have to make sure the drivers are okay. They have to make sure that the circuit furniture can be put back where it ought to be, because of course there you can see the damage to the tyre wall, and more importantly the Armco barrier. The Armco barrier has been bent, and so that means that even if you repair the tyre wall, the barrier has lost its structural rigidity, so they will have to get that fixed as well before we get any more racing underway, whether or not that will be for Mazda MX-5s or maybe for our next race, and we'll see if there's time to fit this in later on in the programme, I don't know. But we only ran about 5 minutes, didn't we? So whether that will count for points or not, I don't know. Anyway, cars lining up on the grid for the time being, drivers getting out of the cars, so they're obviously anticipating that they're going to be there for a little while. And the recovery process begins up at the first corner. But the fact that the drivers are being told to get out of the cars tells me they're not anticipating that they'll be going back into the paddock anytime soon. So it does look as though they're hopeful of a restart. What are we doing for time? This race was supposed to be finished by about 10:30. It's supposed to be finished by now, so we're already behind time, I suppose. So we may as well try and get everything in. But there you can see that's what you think. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for your patience here. We are still having these circuit barrier repairs going on at the first corner, so hopefully they will be done before too much longer, but we're going to leave you in peace for a little while. As soon as we have any further news on a restart time or a start time for our next race, we will be sure to let you know. Hope you stick around though. We've still got a BMW Compact Cup race scheduled for this first part of the day. And don't forget, TCR UK Racing coming up at about 5 minutes to 1 with our first of 2 races today. So stick with us, bear with us. We hopefully will have some racing coming up very soon.
Not only at the back, but plus 10 seconds, so he'll have to wait for the flag to drop before he's going to be allowed to go. So, 33 cars for this particular grid. They are all BMW cars, as you would expect, the BMW Compact Cup, E36 Compact 318 Ti's, to be precise. And because we've only got this grid, I haven't been able to update my paperwork to make a note of the colours for this particular field. Now, we had some great fights in these last year. A degree of controversy, I suppose, is a fair thing to say. It was quite some rough racing as the cars have been recovered back. And that's the one that lost the wheel then, we can certainly tell that one. Oh, they both lost front wheels by the looks of that. So, there we go. The cars that have been recovered, it's just to let you know, it's now circuit furniture repair. The problem is that that's the biggest job.
Yeah, it is. And again, that was 40 on a lorry load of tyres now heading in your direction.
Yeah, you can just tell that there's a great big stretch where it's sort of like removed the tyres there, so I'm not surprised to see that at all. It did the job, did what it needed to do at the end of the day, and so that's good news. I'm trying to find where my notes are for this BMW. I've got everything in nice, neat plastic wallets, but for some reason, I don't know which one it is, because it is that one, where we had the addition to your programme, number 17, Samuel Carrington Yates. It's an addition. Such is the field that in qualifying they even had to be released in a particular order onto the circuit. But leading the way so far, it is Stephen Daly, the number 1 car, last year's champion. Doing a great job. He managed to win. I could have sworn I printed out the 2017. There we go. Stephen Daly won it from 47 car Owen Hunter. He was rather close, and penalty points dished out for him all sorts of nowhere. Owen Hunter lines up just behind him on the grid, and is just behind him in the championship. 299 points compared to 284, so it is mighty close between those two, with Ian Jones in 59, who lines up alongside Stephen Daly, is 3rd in the championship. Matthew Parks is 4th in the championship, but is now, as we know, penalised and starts right from the back. Paul Hinson is 5th in the championship, 5th on the grid. So it's Ben Huntley. Ben Huntley is 4th on this grid, but I'm not seeing him feature. So that's a great job by Ben Huntley for this particular grid. One of the names that it's a shame that we don't see him here is Jiggy James Gornall, because he races really well in his BMWs, doesn't he?
Yeah, he was champion in 2016, and he was initially champion in 2017 as well, but then stripped of that because of an eligibility issue, so it was excluded from last round of the championship. That is what gave Stephen Daly the title last year.
I'm glad that you said that, because I was trying to understand what it was, because I'm sure it's Stephen Daly and James Gornall that have good fights here, but it got a little...
It was a bit heated, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was frustrations between the pair of them. Am I doing that politically?
I think that's...
Was that tongue weak?
That is fair comment. There were exclusions
this one. Thomas Parker has tweeted to me at Dawes Racing, DAWES Racing, saying, can you say hey to the marshals at Castle Combe this weekend? Very hot and busy so far. Absolutely legends, absolute legends, the Orange Army, and the maintenance crew this weekend are having to work exceptionally hard. The medical crews are working very hard as well, so thank you to all of you in these very, very hot conditions. I know it's very trying, especially when you've got to be all in your boiler suits, and never before has the name been so appropriate than days like today. So thank you very, very much indeed. It is your volunteering that enables us to do this race, and I actually saw Steve Beard, the head of the marshals, out with some trainee marshals, I think, doing a taster day. Remember, you can get out there and do a taster day to find out what it takes to be involved in marshalling. And then get yourself involved. No one gets closer to the action than the marshals out there, other than the drivers themselves. And you'll see that they become a great family, not just friends, but they become a family, and they travel around, not just the country, but even the world, because our marshals seem to be the best marshals in the world, which is why you'll see them popping up at Formula 1 Grand Prix around the world, Le Mans 24-hour, you name it, they get everywhere. They really do. They just get everywhere. And get yourself involved. You're not suddenly signing your life away and expected to be at every single meet. You're able to commit to whatever you're available for. Just obviously, the more you do, the more you get to know everyone, the higher your profile becomes, the better your skill set becomes, and therefore the better and better the things that you get involved in. So get yourself, have a look into it, and I'm pretty certain you will enjoy it. One of the things I really love, and probably bringing you in again, Ian, is because I love this. Have you seen the amount of championships that now do it where you get extra points if you go and do a day marshalling?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea and a good incentive, isn't it, to get drivers to experience life on the other side of the fence, really, on the marshal's post. So if they're doing it today at certain places, I think it's just about sunbathing, because that's what the marshals seem to be doing at paddock, for example, at the moment, because there's not a lot of on-track action, but usually it's a lot harder work, and the weather isn't always quite as clement as this, and so on and so forth. But no, it's a great incentive, isn't it, to get drivers to experience life on the backs and put something back into racing. Who knows, so that they might go and do a little bit more of it as well. There are a lot of competitors who do marshal quite regularly, as well as race quite regularly too.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I was trying to multitask and then remembered I'm a man and I can't do that. I agree, and I think that it's not just a case of appreciating them as in a thank you to the marshals to understand what they do, but appreciating, if they find themselves in a situation that marshals are doing certain things and in the heat of the moment they get frustrated because they just want to be back out there racing or something, but to actually get a better understanding of what happens and what has to happen, I think that helps them appreciate everything that's going on during the course of their race meets as well. Looking down at the various BMWs that are down here with us for the odd one or two that I'm missing colours for, as I'm updating this bumper grid. Still repairing at the moment, still got the tweets coming in. A great photograph there from Miami 3 saying trying to balance no sunburn and a perfect view. So basically tucked under a brolly there and just trying to make sure that not getting sunburned but can still see the track. Now I'm looking up, I can see you actually, I can see the red and black umbrella up at Camp Corner. I can see you tucked behind it. Give us a wave, there we go. That means everyone else knows it's you. You're going to start throwing rotten eggs at you now, Miami, sorry. But I can understand that perfect balance of trying to make sure you can see. So you can just about see Camp Corner, but you can't see anything arriving at Camp Corner. But I think it's that hot out there. It is the lesser of two evils in reality. I said it earlier, I will say it again, because St John's Ambulance and the like do like to ask us to keep reminding people, drink plenty of fluids, keep the suntan lotion on, don't end up in a bad situation with sunburn and skin issues as a result of the sun. Hats on, because you can get sunstroke. We do end up with people needing assistance where they get a bit of sunstroke, so please do keep your caps on where necessary. And find shade, like under the umbrella, as we saw there from Miami, is cider will really suit me now as well. That will do me babbers. I'll love a bit of that, but keep it to me roots. Keep it to me roots. I'll be able to get. I am multitasking. I am still working. What are we at now? We're at 5 past, and I know that the original. I don't know whether it was an expectation or whether it was a target, but 11:15, and I'm just sort of like sneakily looking at some bits of paperwork that are there. They're sort of like crunching numbers next door, bless them, trying to work out how we can get through everything and get ourselves through the entire programme whilst keeping some kind of semblance of order for the TCR races with its TV commitments. I know it's great that we've got this being streamed, and a lot of the drivers are delighted that we have the live stream going out of their races. Certainly the saloon guys are very pleased that they are covered live on the footage for people to see on the BRSCC YouTube page, which I'm sure you'll be able to see the replay of the action as well. But it doesn't really help when we're struggling to keep to all of these times. So they did a great job yesterday. We had a few incidents that knocked the timing back, and it did mean that they had to make up some time. And the answer is they did. They did an absolutely sterling job again. So, remind you of things that are coming up here at Castle Combe. Loads and loads of things going on. Remember, it's not just race meets. We have the Castle Combe Racing School, where you can come here and get yourself the other side of the fence with ARDS qualified instructors. You can learn to drive the Ford Fiestas, the Z-Tech Ford Fiestas, that are lightning quick and do often tend to be people's favourite car, actually, the Fiestas. But they've also got the Focus. We have the Lotus Elise, and you can even get out in the single-seater Formula 4 that we saw earlier. You can take part in one of those single-seaters. I always make the comment that when I went in one of those, I was driving away in it and suddenly realised it was making a funny noise. I thought, well, something's wrong with this car. I realised it was me screaming into the helmet that I was out there on my own in a single-seater Formula Ford heading up Avon Rise into the very, very well-known Quarry Corner. It was just such an amazing experience to get out there. I do love hosting those days because you get people there with a wonderful mix of excitement and nerves on their faces, let alone anything else. So I do love hosting those days. Good news is, by the way, is just looking down at Folly Corner, is that it looks like they're starting to put tyres in place. Now that tells me that they've got the posts back in behind the metal barriers, and they're now getting the tyres in front of the metal barrier, and we may well be getting ourselves a little bit closer to the Compact Cup. Tony's a bit cheeky behind me, said he doesn't believe I got into a Formula Ford. I did, I just couldn't get out again. 6'3" and well fed. Actually, more to the point, well drunk at university. That was the problem. And now we're into midlife. No, not midlife crisis yet. Easy, Jill, easy. Midlife spread I was going with, but if it disappears, and then we know it's midlife crisis, but it's still there, so it's a midlife spread at the minute. But there we go. So do get yourself down to the races course. Go on to castlecombecircuit.co.uk to have a look at the different experiences. We've also got white knuckle rides available for you as well, where someone takes you around and basically says, here's what you should have done when the professional drivers are able to do it properly. We've got action days. We've just, only last weekend, we had the summer action day. And we've got coming up, what's the next one? Forge Action Day that I'll be hosting on the 8th of September. And we have Rally Day on the 22nd, Mini Action Day on the 29th. So they're the big action days that are going on here. Race day-wise, we have the 11th and 12th of August is the next BRSCC race weekend, which is an awful lot of Caterham, so it's going to be some fabulous racing for them. August Bank Holiday Race Day on Monday the 27th of August. Then on the 1st and 2nd of September, we've got two-wheeled action here, the Motorcycle Grand National Race Weekend. It's Championship will probably be getting towards the tail end of theirs as well. On then the 6th of October is another big one, the Autumn Classic. Incredible cars. You know, we had a car here racing certainly 2 years ago. I can't remember if it was more recent. £10 million car that was racing here. You know, just amazing historic cars that will be out there, plus other things on show, plus displays, all sorts of things for you to be able to see. I've also got a piece of paper, and I know Ian mentioned it earlier, a book that's available from the Castle Combe Racing Club shop. So remember, down at the bottom of my commentary box, which is the point where you can also take photos of the flamingo in my commentary box and get that posted up on Twitter, see how many of you actually grabbed that. But down in the Castle Combe Racing Club shop is, you'll see the big feather banners just out the front of it. You'll be able to pop out there and buy all sorts of things in there for yourself, your kids, and all of the above. But in there's a book that's been written by Ken Davies, our very own chairman of the Castle Combe Racing Club, forwarded by Autosport's Marcus Pye. It's called And You'll Love This, the story of well-known driver Terry Sanger, his exciting international racing career, and some of his fascinating friends, which kind of sets it up. Marcus Pye even said, Ken Davies' fascinating manuscript has illuminated his character and manifold abilities, enriched my understanding of a West Country legend, and left me wishing I'd known him. Time well spent. £12, that book is available in the Castle Combe shop down there, but as I say, so many different things in there, whether it's knickknacks to put on the wall, they've got clocks, they've got coasters, they've got clothing, they've got caps, which you might find you suddenly need something out there to wear in these conditions. But have a little look in there. There's some great gear. I always used to love going looking in the stores and shops. So we are getting close now to this action getting away. So everybody still settled around the circuit. From the photo I saw earlier, it certainly looks like a big crowd up there at Quarry Corner, as is often the case down in camp. We've got plenty of you sat there around. I hope you're all enjoying the racing so far. The Bobby's Brave that are up in position at the second chicane, if you will, around this. Then I'm looking up towards Tower. There's a few places that you've got tree shade up there, and I can see you at the back of the bank there, tucked away towards that shade with your brolly still up as well to try and make sure. Plus, obviously, if some of you are sat in your cars there, probably with the air conditioning on. Along the bank, across Farm, Straight, and the S's, I can see some of you up there, and again, it looks like we've got a little bit of tree shade for you at this stage. Changes as the day unfolds, of course, doesn't it? And then I'm looking at Quarry Corner, and as always, the faithful are in position. And I've got one or two messages that have come in now. Kibo still, is he still abusing me? Nearly there, that's right. He's stopped signing his autograph to tell us that nearly there is the good news. So we are very close to being able to go racing for this BMW Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup. I'm sure what any bit of share cars at this stage, and it is great, very well prepared cars, these BMWs. A good grid, but just looking up and down.
Time as the silver car of Wayne Flint dicing away with Keith Towers at further down the field, so I think Flint's lost a few places on this lap. But down into Tower they go. And Stephen Daly, you can see there, a gap that was 7/10 of a second is now only about a BMW length as they turn through the right-hander at Tower at the far end of the circuit. Through the right and left of Bobby's, and Hunter is really closing in now. He's close enough to think about having a go. Probably not into the next corner, but maybe at the start of the next lap. And if he can force Steve Daly to defend, which he does, then that will further delay Stephen Daly's momentum through the corner. Down towards the final turn they go. Daly throws it into the right-hander. Hunter uses all of the curve on the inside, drifts out wide. This is one of Owen Hunter's best circuits on the calendar, and he really needs to make the most of that. Across the line they go, bumper to bumper, up the hill towards Avon Rise for the third time. time. 12 minutes to go, and Owen Hunter's looking to the inside line. He can't quite get alongside there, though. Daly chops across his nose aggressively, gets to the inside line of the braking. Will he be able to hang on through the corner? Looks like he will. Hunter tries to get the switch back. He made that move, or Stephen Daly made that move on James Gordon a year ago to take the win, but was then later excluded for contact. But this time around, Stephen hangs on to the position from Owen Hunter. This dicing, though, is allowing Ian Jones to close in third, and Ben Huntley's not a million miles back in fourth either. Hinson and May still in the same order. Carrington Yates, though, is seventh now, so I was right. Wayne Flint has lost ground. He dropped down to 11th place, and I think he's fallen even further back now. Leaders almost overlapping. Can Hunter throw one up the inside into Tower? The answer is no. He locks at the brake, though. Oh, careful, Owen. Runs a bit wide. Ian Jones almost senses an opportunity to get up the inside, but backed out of it. In towards Bobby's we go once again, and despite that lock-up, Hunter really didn't lose any ground. He looks a bit quicker than Stephen Daly at the moment. Out of the chicane, up through Westway, in towards the final corner again. Daly had to defend down here a lap ago. Will he have to do the same thing this time around? No, he takes the traditional wide racing line, but look at the three of them. You can throw a handkerchief over the lot of them as they turn through Camp Corner once again. Ian Jones a bit squirrely out on the grass as he comes across the start finish line. He's not the only one that's been doing that today, though. That is definitely somewhere where track limits has been a point of contention all weekend long. Up the hill we go, though. Hunter needs to get to the inside line, really, because if he goes to the outside and leaves the door open for Ian Jones, Jones will come through. In towards the braking zone they go, and I can tell you, by the way, Matt Parks from 33rd on the grid is now 20th after 3 laps, so he is starting to make some progress as Owen Hunter looks to the inside of Daly into the S's, and Daly again slams the door in his face. He's going to have to make this a very, very wide BMW Compact Cup car for the remaining 10 minutes of this race to hang on to the race lead. Jones still looking a bit scrappy there in 3rd place. Sam Carrington Yates, meanwhile, is starting to catch this group as well. Keep an eye on the car, 7th in line as Owen Hunter switches from the inside to the outside, back down to the inside again. There's a gap on the inside line. He locks up once more, but Daly was late enough on the brakes to fend him off. Sensational racing this is, though, as it always is in the BMW Compact Cup. Big grids, close racing wherever you look through the field. Generally speaking, they tend to keep it fairly clean as well. A bit of paint traded on the odd occasion, maybe, and you sense that might be what it takes here for Owen Hunter to get past Stephen Daly, because Daly is driving a very defensive race. It's holding Hunter up, it's backing him up into Ian Jones, and there's a danger that they'll all get backed up into the pack further back. Through Camp Corner again, Hunter takes much more apex curve than Stephen Daly does. They shoot across the start finish line. The gap is 0.3 of a second. Daly actually did a personal best lap that time, but it's not all that rapid, really. The fastest lap has been set, unsurprisingly, by Owen Hunter earlier on, for 21.3. That previous lap for Daly, 21.7. So he's not quite on the fastest lap pace. Back through Quarry they go again. Well, what's our Matt Parks doing for the back? 17th now, so another 3 places gained for the championship contender. He'll get a top 15 out of this. Can he get a top 10? That, I suppose, is the question. Through the chicane they go, and Stephen Daly it is who still leads the way. The screech of tyres you heard was 2 cars spinning at the final corner right outside my commentary box window, but we'll focus on the leaders for the time being as Stephen Daly is continuing to lead and actually looks a bit more comfortable in the lead now as they turn into Tower for the 5th time of asking. Right hand now, if you can break away and just get into a bit of a rhythm, Owen Hunter to dice away with Ian Jones, then that might not be a bad thing for Stephen Daly. Now, Hunter and Jones have some history. The first 3 or 4 races of the year, they were tied together. They were never fighting for the race lead because Stephen Daly was able to win 3 out of the first 4 races. Matt Parks, the only other driver who was able to win at that period of the season, and was Snetterton. But for each of those first 4 races, Hunter and Jones were tied together, and they put on such a great show with some really phenomenal racing between the 2 of them. And will we see a resumption of that battle now here at Castle Combe? There's Paul Hinson, he's running in 5th position, just ahead of David May, who is 6th. Sam Carrington Yates is no longer catching him, though, in 7th place. As Stephen Daly heads back in towards Quarry, he now holds the fastest lap at 1:21.204. That would have put him on pole position by 0.2 of a second, remarkably. That's a really good lap time. Owen Hunter, though, just set a lap time that would have been good enough for pole position as well. So the pace is really picking up now as we get into this race. Half race distance has been reached, still 3 cars tied together for the race lead as they come back out of the S's. David May looks to be catching Paul Hinson. There's Carrington Yates, the white car, number 17. Tom Langford behind him, then Keith Towers and Craig Jameson now rounding out the top 10. Meanwhile, Matt Parks only gained 1 place on that lap, so he's up to 16th now. That was at the expense of Simon Welch. Lead gap coming down, I'd say, this time. That was half a second. I don't think it's half a second anymore. as they turn out of Bobby's once again. In the tow for Owen Hunter as he head down towards Camp Corner. And these cars, of course, not the most aerodynamic, so they do punch quite a big hole in the air. That opens the door for lots of slipstreaming opportunities. Which is exactly what David May is trying to do here, to pull Hinton in front of him. So the field working their way back through. Apologies, we lost commentary again there. A few little technical glitches here at Castle Combe today, but the race continuing with Stephen Daly leading by not very much over Owen Hunter. Can he hang on for the remainder of the race? That is the question. Owen Hunter looks to be building up for another challenge here. 5.5 minutes still to go. Daly from Hunter from Jones, the order for podium. Huntley in fourth. Looks to me like being caught slightly by the Hinson car behind. Paul Hinson's got away from David May. Seems to be catching up to him. We're already getting into some of the traffic. Colin Way is about to move out of the way, hopefully, of the race leaders, as they will catch him up towards Quarry Corner. They might be on the exit of Quarry that will catch him, maybe. No, they are going to catch him right at the worst possible moment. And look at that, Stephen Daly really gets held up in the back marker there. And Owen Hunter now latches right back onto his tail again. He's quicker off the corner as well. And Hunter goes to the outside line towards the S's. Back down to the inside. That was really unfortunate for Stephen Daly. He just caught the back marker at the worst possible moment, because you're going into Quarry and you brake over a blind crest through the left-hander at Avon Rise. It's bumpy as well. You're on the wrong line completely for the next corner, and then there was a back marker in the middle of the road that he just could not find a way round. So Daly had to throw out the anchor to avoid hitting him, and that means that Owen Hunter is now alongside down towards Tower Corner on the outside line, though. He's not going to be able to do it there. He'll try and get the cut back on the exit of the corner. Has to watch out, though, because Ian Jones isn't far behind. Of course, it's in Ian's best interests that Hunter finds a way through here, really, because these two are both trying to beat Daly for the championship. Back through Bobby's. Well, Daly had made the break, hadn't he? But all of a sudden, it's all gone wrong, and Owen Hunter is almost pushing him now down the Dean straight towards Camp Corner, looking to the inside line. He can't overtake there. Owen surely ducks back to the outside again, throws it into the right-hander. All three of them as one with 4 minutes left on the clock, and Daly is a bit scrappy out of the corner. That might just give Owen Hunter the run across the start-finish line. He's not really close enough, though. I don't think the bonnet is starting to flap in the wind now after the repairs that were made yesterday following his testing accident. Back up towards Quarry they go. Look at them jostling for position again, but Hunter now, he's in that difficult position of trying to attack and defend at the same time. Daly runs a bit wide, though, and so Hunter with the tight inside line is able to again carry the speed out of the corner. He does seem to be able to build good speed through this section of track and then attack down in towards Tower. Black and orange flag being, by the way, being given out to car number 11. We know not why, but that's a mechanical warning flag for Alessandro Albano running towards the back of the field. So he'll have to go into the pit lane and get the car fixed up. And Owen Hunter, look at this, looking left, looking right, back to the right again, going to get to the inside line down towards Town. Stephen Daly defends the inside. There was almost contact between the two of them. Daly is driving so slowly, though. The previous lap was over a second off the pace, and this one looks even slower as he's having to drive around the inside of the circuit to keep everyone at bay. Speaking of driving around the inside of the circuit, another back marker there getting dutifully out of the way. That was gentlemanly driving there. I reckon we've got time for 2 more laps of this. Can Owen Hunter find a way through? He's all over the back of Stephen Daly, looking to the inside down towards the final corner. He just cannot prise the door open. He has to try and force the mistake, I think, out of the reigning champion. But he is the reigning champion, so forcing a mistake out of him is not going to be easy at all. Across the line they go, 2 more laps to go, and Owen Hunter almost pushing Stephen Daly up Avon Rise. Can he get to the inside line, in towards the Quarry Corner? No, Stephen again reacts to the movement, gets to the inside line. Owen Hunter slithering around all over the place, trying to get alongside. How long before the bumpers start getting used? How long before the patience runs out? Well, it's starting now. There was paint traded there as he went through Quarry, but Stephen Daly is still in front. Back down in towards the S's. Phenomenal racing here from the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup. One Mate Racing at its best, and Stephen Daly well, he's the championship leader. In a way, he doesn't need to take too many risks, but Owen Hunter is his nearest rival in the championship, and there are only 15 points between them, so a race win for either of them as we go into the second half of the season could prove crucial when we arrive at Donington Park at the end of the year. Back down into Tower. Daly again looks a bit scrappy, runs a bit wide, but hooks up the late apex, so it's not the end of the world. Hunter just breaking free of Ian Jones ever so slightly as they turn into bobbies for the penultimate time. They're lapping in the low minute 1 minute 20s, and we're not going to have that long left on the clock when they get back to us. And all this going on further back. Gordon McMillan there, the red car at the front of the queue we saw spinning earlier on. Liam McGill is in there too. And it's all kicking off throughout the field, but understandably we've been focused on this titanic scrap for the win all race long. They cross the line, half a second is the margin as they go on to the final lap of the race, and Owen Hunter has just dropped back a little bit further through the second half of that previous lap, so he's not quite as close as he has been, making his way up towards Quarry. In towards the right-hander they will go, but this is the part of the circuit where Owen has looked strong all race long, hooks the curve on the inside, really throws the car through the corner. And oops, Ian Jones all over the grass, drops a bit of body work as he does so. That further releases the pressure though from Owen Hunter as he heads through this real momentum sequence of corners. Daly looks more sideways than Hunter this time around. Hunter though gets two wheels on the grass as he just understeered a bit wide. Further back there is Ben Huntley still running in fourth, Paul Hinson fifth with damage to the front of his car, and David May still sixth, Sam Carrington Yates seventh, Tom Langford eighth, Keith Towers ninth, and Gordon McMillan is now inside the top 10. Wayne Flint has dropped down even further into 14th. Matt Parks, by the way, is 30th going on to the final lap. Not bad from 33rd on the grid. Leaders then back through bobbies for the final time. Has Owen Hunter got anything that he can take to Steve Daly? He's right with him, but there's only one more corner to go, and you really can't overtake at Camp Corner unless there's a mistake from the car in front. Stephen Daly leads them down into the final turn. Owen Hunter trying to apply the pressure, trying to force the mistake out of Stephen Daly, but it's not going to come. Stephen Daly will see the checkered flag and win for the 5th time in 2018 to further pull out a championship lead over Owen Hunter, who set the fastest lap on the final lap of the race, the only man all weekend to have gone sub 1 minute 21. It's a 1 minute 20.955, a really good lap time there for Owen Hunter, but it's just not enough to take the checkered flag. He does get the point for fastest lap though, so that will help him in his championship campaign, but he really would have liked to have won that one. Ian Jones a slightly distant third in the end, Ben Huntley fourth, Paul Hinton fifth, and David May in sixth, Carrington Yates seventh, Langford eighth, Towers ninth, McMillan got into 10th place there towards the end, and Matt Parks took another place on the last lap and moved through into 12th. Well, Stephen Daly then is our race victor, and he's making a habit of this. He is the reigning champion, of course, but he's had it a lot harder this year. 5 wins from 7 races still sounds good, but it's been a lot closer this year, I think is the point. And although he's still winning lots of races, he's not winning them by the sort of margins that he used to, and it's certainly been a very competitive season in the Nankang Tyres New Compact Cup. Nankang Tyres, the title sponsor once again, all of the cars running on Nankang Tyres, and Nankang getting involved in British motorsport more and more, it would seem, as the years go on. And there went Matt Parks, just flashing through his screen, 33rd to 12th on the grid. Fantastic result for him. Well, fantastic drive, not a great result. 12th is not a great result, but it was a great drive through the order for the championship contender. Confirmation of the result then. Stephen Daly wins it by 1/4 of a second over Owen Hunter, who set the fastest lap at the end of the race. Ian Jones was 3rd, Ben Huntley was 4th, and Paul Hinson came home 5th. David May 6th, Sam Carrington Yates 7th, Tom Langford 8th, Keith Towers 9th, and Gordon McMillan rounds out the top 10. Then it's Liam McGill and Matt Parks rounding out the top half dozen ahead of Craig Jameson and Wayne Flint. Matt Flowers 15th, ahead of Tom Griffiths, Andrew Prince, Simon Welch, Mike Doble and Alan Caulfield in 20th. And then we have Mark Skeets 21st, Tim Scott Andrews 22nd, Aaron Morgan in 23rd, ahead of Jonathan Atkinson and Martin Gadsby, Jim Barrett and Mikey Doble next in line, ahead of Nick Edmond, Phil Sharp and Andrew Woodbine. And I saw Phil Sharp have a spin down at Camp Corner in front of me midway through that race. It was an energetic race, that one, but Stephen Daly, a worthy winner. Let's remind ourselves of some of the action from what was a phenomenal race. Well, off the start, it was Stephen Daly from pole position who was able to hold on to an early race lead. A few cars on the grass before they'd even reached the start line, though. Ian Jones briefly challenged for the lead up through Quarry for the first time, but Daly fended him off. with Owen Hunter then applying the pressure to Ian Jones. Owen got through into second and immediately bridged the gap to the race leader Stephen Daly. The pair engaged in a fascinating tussle, with Stephen Daly clearly not the quicker of the two, but able to defend. Daly pulled out a gap only to catch back markers in the last couple of laps, meaning that Owen Hunter got right back onto his tail. The three of them circulated within inches of each other, a brilliant demonstration of close quarters but clean racing. Owen Hunter, though, just couldn't prise the door open, and Steve Daly it was who came home a victor for the 5th time this season. So Stephen Daly extends the championship lead, and it was a fantastic race for them, and the next race for the BMW Compact Cup will be coming up hopefully just after our second TCR UK race. So if you enjoy the TCR racing, stick around, because we've got another couple of races coming up after that. Well, we're going to take a short break now then. We will be back though at around about 12 o'clock for our second stream of the day, and that will have both of the TCR UK races for the weekend, plus the second race of the day for the Toyo Tyres Porsche Championship, the Avon Tyres National Formula Fords, and the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. The BMWs will be back out again, and we round our day off fittingly with one of the resident championships here at Castle Combe, the Castle Combe Saloon Car Championship in association with National Windscreens. So lots more racing coming your way this afternoon. Hopefully we'll be able to get back on timetable, and we'll be able to bring you all of the action in stream number 2. Keep watching on the BRSCC channel after lunch, and we'll be back with plenty of racing action.
Stephen Daly, please come as quickly as possible. You've got limited time, Stephen.